is muted.
Beautiful analysts today are Nick V and Harold, the rare and exciting analyst desk with just people with their normal names on it. You know, you don't see that very often in esports, but I've got a couple of blokes on my desk here, Nick and Harold. So welcome. Nick, how are you feeling today?
Some would say this is my criminal name, but it's just my casting name. Don't worry about that. I'm feeling fine. I'm very excited for this extremely excited match.
Yes, another upper bracket one for us. Harold, how are you feeling about Venom Crest and RIZE from all the way down there in the lower bracket yourself?
Oof. You don't have to remind me like that, honestly. I mean, hopefully it's going to be a fun series. I mean, I expect it to be. These two teams have shown a lot of promise in the regular season, so I'm expecting a lot, honestly.
Yes. Absolutely. We have high hopes for them, and we wouldn't want it any less. Of course, as a reminder, on Monday, we did see our first upper bracket match, where we did have, who was even that? Broad and some unknown team, some random group of streamers. I don't know. But the streamers won anyway. Yeah, a bunch of literal inters. The streamers won. So, InQuick went 2-0 over Broad and advanced to the winners final. So the winner today is playing to join them in that winners final later on in the playoffs. But there's something we need to talk about first. Because we're going to get into the draft hopefully pretty swift, because it is quite close to the time, we need to talk about our featured matchup of the day. We'll have plenty of time to talk about this series as we go on, but our featured matchup first, we have selected, to be honest, who else could it have been today? The mid lane. Air versus BB Muffin. And these two have been setting the pace, not just for the mid lane, but let's be honest, for the whole dang league. Nick, if you had to tell, I guess just tell us a little bit about Air and BB Muffin. Give us a little synopsis as to what we're expecting here.
Yeah, so Air is very the consistent mid laner, kind of the backbone of their team. They consistently get the scaling champions and just work their way through a game and just get relevant no matter what happens in the game. Whereas BB Muffin, I feel like more is the biggest carry potential of RIZE Gaming right now. And if he gets on point early on in the game, let's say Ari or Silas, he can just steamroll 1v9.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a bold statement. BB Muffin, the biggest carry potential on RIZE. A team with Trizzy on it, that's a very interesting thing. Many people might have said Trizzy, but I understand the BB Muffin pick. They have been an excellent duo. Harold, how do you feel about the statement BB Muffin's the biggest carry on RIZE? Do you believe this is a slight against Trizzy, or do you think BB Muffin has earned that title?
I do think it is a slight against the trooper Trizzy.
The Trizler, as Millie would put it.
Yeah, but honestly, it just feels like Trizzy has linked up so well, though, with BB Muffin. They've been playing around each other so well that it makes sense that it's up there, because both of them are usually the stars in a RIZE win. So, but yeah, no, Trizzy is the carry, but BB Muffin has done excellently this split.
Yeah. Now, Harold, Air's team is really rather good. Can we admit this? Can we all be honest on the desk and say Venom Crest is quite a good team? How much, I guess, of Venom Crest's quality do you attribute to Air specifically, and how much of it is just kind of a more of a holistic picture of that 5-stack?
Well, I do think Air makes it so that Venom Crest have always somebody they can fall back on as soon as the timer takes 30 minutes or 25, depending on the pick. But holistically, the team makes sense. They're really good. It's a topside core that hasn't been changed since last split. They've played together a lot. They know how to play around each other. They know everybody's strengths. They will have some slight mishaps in the early game because it happens. But then as soon as they know everything's on the table, they will keep making the right play. That is how they've gone 8-1 in the regular season. That is how they've looked so good. That is how they won a split. So,
yep. They certainly did. When they did, without dropping a single game, no less, in 2025 winter. Now, these teams have, of course, played once before. All of the teams have had a regular season matchup. Now, Nick, I understand you've taken a look. You've seen what we can glean from that regular season matchup. What can you tell us about these two teams matching up against each other from that best of one earlier in the season?
Yeah, I mean, we have to preface that it was a best of one, but it was, I would say, the early game was kind of even, slightly in the favor of RIZE Gaming. RIZE was able to get more plays on the map early on, but as Venom Crest was just playing and they got team fights, they got picks, they won every single one of them, and it just goes to show that Venom Crest is probably one of the best, if not even the best, team fighting team on the Four Nations right now. And RIZE Gaming, they need to find a solution to this puzzle of Venom Crest, because otherwise Venom Crest is just going to run them over.
Yeah. They've done it to literally every team except for InQuick, I believe. This split, Venom Crest have run basically everybody over. So Harold, this was, I think, 4 weeks ago, something like this, or 4 rounds ago, maybe we could say. It was not last week at the very least. Given what we've seen from RIZE, it has not necessarily been a consistent level throughout the entire split. There've been ups, there've been downs. We're ending on a decent high note, I would say. But where do you think RIZE has landed at this point at playoffs? Do you think they're actually looking strong right now? Do you think we're starting to see some exposure here? Because obviously it is quite reliant on that mid jungle.
I do think they came into the split, as you were saying, pretty white hot, right? Taking down broad, showing that they had potential. Then they had this mid-split slump where it felt like they kind of lost their identity. They tried to conform more to the meta, and then as soon as they went back to having Trizzy play carries, look at that. The game turns on its head. I do think they have gone back to what clearly worked for them, and they've also, at the same time, figured out a way to play more consistently around that style, a way where you can look at it more holistically in terms of comp and in terms of picks, where you don't need necessarily Trizzy to be giga ahead to win the game, but you can rely on other members to fight with him, be on even ground with the enemy laners and the opposition in general, and just play together through Trizzy's playmaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I believe we have a couple of clips to roll from these two teams, so production could queue those up. We will have our analysts talk through them. Nick V, we can take a look at this first one. So this is from that regular season game.
Yeah, it's mostly like the catches that they will be finding. You can see Bust, especially like in these clips, look at Bust every single time, making sure that Azir has to use his ultimate defensively. And it just means that BB Muffin was able to do nothing, while the AD carry and the mid laner could just rain down the damage onto RIZE Gaming. And a little bit of trolling from Bust as well. It just means that they're very confident in this upcoming matchup. And like, how did RIZE build their strategies around Venom Crest Esports? We have to see that very strong, and just the angles that Venom Crest finds every single time, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe we should make. Harold, why don't you tell us about this clip of Venom Crest versus Bandits? You wanna tell us about what you're seeing on your screen right now?
This is just Air knowing his windows on when to engage, when to look forward on the Azir. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who's pretty much a very big Azir player. Azir, you have the possibility to play make like a Galio, but you also have the possibility to deal damage like a Tristana, or to control the lane, like something like a Xerath. It's knowing how to use those skills at the correct time that makes an Azir player the Emperor. And Air honestly has been the mid lane Emperor of the split. So, just fitting.
It's pretty much, the Azir, a more fitting pick there could not be. A pentakill locked up for him in that game. And it was good, I think, that we saw across those two Venom Crest clips, we saw two different AD carries. We saw Skylark in the first and Chrisberg in the second. Now, Chrisberg is playing today. I believe Skylark is no longer in the country. So I believe Chrisberg is playing for the rest of the season, is my understanding, for Venom Crest. So, Nick, I guess from what we've seen of Venom Crest, we know that their mid laner is exceptional. We know that Air is going to be there to step up. But tell me a little bit about this bot lane. How do you think Chrisberg is slotted in a proper Panda? How do you think they match up, I guess, in general in the bot lanes across the league?
Yeah, I think the duo is a very strong bot lane duo right now, very dominant in their lane as well, and especially like the aggressive picks that Chrisberg puts into the team, like let's say a Varus. I'm definitely expecting a Varus today, if not banned, away, and he just, especially against Sin, I really want to look at the dynamic in the bot lane immediately. Sin, I think, is more of a safe AD carry in the early game, and that just means that Chrisberg has his dream matchup in the bot lane. Like, he can just do whatever he wants there, and I think it's up to Trizzy specifically to tip the scales there.
Yeah, I mean, well, RIZE often waiting for Trizzy to tip the scales, playing and drafting around that. We have seen a lot of that throughout this split. Harold, how do you feel about Sin's split? Because Sin has been one of our most tenured players. He's been a championship winner. He's had off splits and on splits. But where are you feeling about him right now? Considering RIZE is focused elsewhere, how do you think he and Saka are doing down the bot side?
I think in terms of the laning, they've been solid. Sin has always been one of the better laners in Four Nations. Even last split when he was on Broad, was part of that team's dominance in the regular season, together with of course Akatag and Jamsu being around. Just they had very solid roster last split as well. It kind of just it feels really difficult to give a good vote to Spin Split, in my opinion, because more often than not, he has been the reason why RIZE have looked shaky in mid games. It feels like he's always a little bit out of position, maybe greeting for something. And this is not a new thing. It's happened before, but in terms of laning, he's always been good, really good.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether RIZE can pull him back a little, to tighten the leash a little.
Yeah, maybe need Sack to Nemone down on the support to tighten the leash on Sin. Yeah. We'll see if he just stick him on Varus, give an Alice the support, and say, okay, look, just sit here, okay, farm the wave. We'll see you in 20 minutes, hopefully. But I guess we talk a lot about the RIZE jungler, mid jungle of Trizzy and BB Muff. We talk a lot about Trizzy's impact on the game, carry potential. The Venom Crest jungle today will be FaZe. We have started with FaZe. That was, of course, their jungler in the second half of Winter Split, ended up being the championship winning jungler. We've had Galaxy come in a few times. They've been splitting time throughout this split. Nick, how do you feel about, I guess, FaZe currently back in today? What do you think he offers for Venom Crest? We kind of know what Trizzy offers and what he's best positioned to offer, but what does FaZe bring to this team for Venom Crest?
I think FaZe really puts some early map pressure in Venom Crest, right? He can pick Jarvan, he can play Sejuani. Very strong CC heavy junglers that really want to gank in order for their team to get ahead in the early to mid game, and just setting up the lanes to get the objectives in the jungle specifically. I think that is exactly what FaZe brings to his team, and honestly, as a jungler, that's exactly what you need to do.
Yeah, I guess if you've got carries like Aaron Chrisberg, let's just set them up. Let's just give them what they need, right? Give them the tools to succeed right there. Harold, when it comes to FaZe versus Trizzy, given that Trizzy is... We talk about paying the Trizzy tax, right? You need to ban your Kindred, ban your Xin Zhao, maybe even... I don't know. There's probably a third one that you'd need to ban against Trizzy that we haven't even worked out yet. Maybe the Pantheon, right? Yeah, Viego's a good call, right? So, considering what FaZe can offer to Venom Crest and how Venom Crest have been able to... I think show a very kind of well-rounded strategy and composition throughout this split. Do you think they need to pay the Trizzy tax? I guess is my first question. And what do you think we need to see from FaZe to try and manage the effect of Trizzy on the early game?
Well, first of all, it's fearless. So you can maybe just say, well, let's give it a shot. Let's try... Maybe like give him over one pick for one game. Yeah. If it works out, we don't really need to care about the others, really. Or you kind of just you look at it slightly differently, wherein you want to guarantee FaZe as much agency as possible, so you want Trizzy to be on those more team reliant junglers, something like the Vi, something like the Wukong not necessarily, something where FaZe can get one of his many picks, because he's played a plethora of champions throughout these splits. Maybe he can get a better edge in the proper 1v1 and just keep running at the enemy team as soon as he gets to his breakpoints. We saw him do it on the Mundo. We saw him do it on the Vi, on the Xin Zhao before. FaZe is no slouch, so this is gonna be a very, very difficult fight for Trizzy.
Yeah. Harold, as a coach, just while we're on it, why has Mundo returned to the jungle especially? We've seen Kerberos drop it top at least once, but we've seen multiple players, including people like Monkefer, right, pull out the Mundo. So what is the reasoning behind this businessman returning to us in the jungle?
Because a lot of the meta is very reliant on one or two key pieces of CC. Where you're relying on the engage of a Leona, and then you're drafting 4 damage to the others, maybe with some very unreliable CC. Mundo, if you have a very low CC comp, he just gets to run at you. Because he has the passive, goes where he pleases, he drops that once you drop the guaranteed CC, and then he just keeps going. And then he's also one of the best scaling tanks. Well, no, calling him a tank is unfair, he's a juggernaut. He's one of the best scaling juggernauts in the game, and it just feels unfair to play into a Mundo that's gotten to level 16. Not even ahead, he just has to hit 16.
Yeah. I remember seeing a clip, I think it was a cast, was it last week maybe? And it was a Mundo just outside Atakan pit, just tossing cleavers over, and it was doing like 20% of HP bars for every cleaver. I'm like, yes, my tank jungler Mundo, of course, with these cleavers that are chopping people's heads off every time. Nick, for I guess the one thing we haven't touched on yet, I think, is the top lane, really. And this is quite an interesting one because we have a very well-known quantity in Bust, who again championships under his belt, has shown carry potential, has shown weak side potential, and this is against Aniki, who is an actual factual genuine rookie, I believe, in this split, coming in the top side. So tell us a little bit about Bust first, reacquaint us with Bust and what he brings, and then we'll talk a little bit about, I guess, what that top lane matchup might bring us today.
Yeah, I feel like Bust is one of those top laners that really bring creativity to his team, Venomcrest, where he just finds angles with his champion and then just either they flank them or he finds incredible engages. So he's like a second engaged champion, or he usually plays on that next to his support. So it just gives Venomcrest so much creativity to just go for the team fights that they're so strong against whenever they really please. Whereas Aniki is a very strong top laner, right? He's very strong in laning. He will just probably pick Yorick to counteract the Gragas potentially. Don't give it to Bust, by the way. Don't do it. But his Yorick is also very strong. He can bully Bust if he wants, and if he gets a little bit of help in the top lane, he might be able to shut down Bust just through that. The thing is, can you really keep your leash on Bust? I think that's just the biggest question right now.
Yeah. Harold, how do you feel like? Do you feel like Aniki has the potential to be able to manage Bust up in that top side? You know, Gragas or not, do you think there's a chance for Rice's top laner here?
I definitely think there's a chance. I think Aniki has been one of the better performing top laners in the split. He's shown prowess both on necessarily tanks, but mostly on the carries. He's gone towards the Renekton, the Rumble, the Yorick. He has always gravitated towards more lane dominant picks. And Bust has never really gone towards that end of the stick. Especially this split, he's gone a lot more for the Gragas, the Cassante. He has played the Olaf, he has played, I think, a game of Camille.
Yeah.
But it is not. It's not been his standout split in terms of performance. He's been really good on the Gragas, but I do have questions about his performance on anything that isn't the Gragas. So I do think Aniki has a very solid chance of just making a bit, just making a hole in the Venomcrest armor.
Yeah, a rare Bust doubter on the desk this evening. A rare sighting.
I mean, it is fearless after all. Like, even if they give Bust Gragas once, then it can't be twice.
Yeah, it's a league. It's literally not possible. Right? So I mean, we've mentioned how some of these power picks affect these teams, right? And we as an update, we are experiencing some issues with Draft. Lola has chosen this moment to sort of get Thanos snapped out of existence, and we are just working on putting a replica together that functions with our broadcast graphics. So we'll have the draft with you as soon as possible. But speaking on the draft, talk about things like the Bust Gragas. We've mentioned things about Sinvarus. Venomcrest is on blue side, I believe, in game number 1. So, Nick, if we're a Venomcrest, we're looking for that B1 pick. We're considering what we're going to hit the hardest with. What are you thinking about in the ban phase as well? And what do you think your B1's going to be?
Ooh, like you really want the prior picks right now. I do think that because it's BB Muffin and Air in the mid lane, either red side bans Azir or blue side picks it as the number 1, and then of course you can follow it up with whatever you want. I think that is the biggest angle that I'm looking for. Is Azir going to be banned? If not, it's going to be picked in game number 1 for sure. Other than that, I guess it's mostly the comfort power picks that Venomcrest will be looking for, right? We mentioned Varus, we mentioned Gragas, we can mention Jarvan as well. Sejuani, very strong for Phrase. So I would be looking for those, like either pick Azir first or probably get a strong jungler.
Yeah. How about you, Harold? Do you think we're Azir B1ing at this stage with Air on our team, or do you think there's another way they can go?
Actually, the higher priority is probably on the RIZE if it's not banned. Air has been a masterful pilot of the RIZE in the early split, and BB Muffin's no slouch on it either. So there's a lot of priority on a lot of these mid-range control mages, or, well, mid-range damage consistent damage dealers. You know, there's the famous EQ RIZE meme. And at the same time, you just have Azir right-clicking you. So it's just a question of where the team values more lane dominance or the ability to just make plays on the map. Use that realm warp to disrupt the tempo of the enemy team by just moving resources. So
yeah. So yeah, the Rise could be one, especially in Fearless when we're picking up here. We might be able to see them contest it in that mid lane as BB Muffin and Air. Yeah, they do fulfill in terms of the damage profile and sometimes what they offer for the team. They can offer quite a similar offering to very different teams, I guess. The completely different approach to kind of the game and the composition, but with mid laners that can both carry on some similar picks. Given that we also, you know, the B1 is something, there are plenty of power picks to be had. We also end up seeing potentially people leaving themselves to that last pick, to the R5 counter, and to seeing how they can get the best advantage right here. Harold, if we are RIZE on the red side, where are we, how are we using the draft, I guess, to try and get an advantage here? If we know that our mid jungle is strong, and we're hopeful for top lane, perhaps we're trying to protect bot lane, like using the counter pick potential that red side has, what do you think is the approach here for RIZE to neutralize Venomcrest in some way when there's such a well-rounded team?
Well, I do think you're going to try and approach for end of draft or the last pick before second phase of bans, so the R3 and the R5, to, if possible, get a strong matchup for your solo lanes, probably more towards a Nikki. Mid lane, one heads up, is not as impactful as the top lane 1v1. But like, if Bust ends up blinding on blue 3, and you can guarantee a strong pick for a Nikki, you pick it on red 3, and then you have 2 picks to lay up your R4, and then R5, it doesn't really matter because you have full counterpick. You see the entire enemy comp. Yeah. So you can just set it up that way. It's a question of whether RIZE really want to focus their priority on getting their soul lanes ahead, or they want to guarantee themselves a strong 2v2 bot lane matchup where Sin and Nemini can run over the enemy bot lane and translate that lead into a really strong mid game using that mid priority that most of the meta AD carries are picked for right now.
Nick, if we're, I guess, this approach of potentially either securing safety for bot lane, securing strength for bot lane, or focusing on the solo lanes, if you had to try and pick away for RIZE, what do you think is a better chance for them to overcome Venomcrest? Because they are the underdogs here today, I think it's fair to say. 6-3 to Venomcrest 8-1 with a title under their belt. How do you think they can give themselves the best shot?
Yeah, I think they should be picking the AD carry. I won't say quite early, but definitely not R3 or R5. I think they should be looking for either a support that can counteract the team comp of Venomcrest entirely, or you get a strong counter pick in the top lane. You want Aniki to make sure that Bust is kept in check, and just work your way through that. Make sure Trizzy gets on the carry. Make sure you can keep a leash on the top lane, and I do think that the bot lane will be quite an issue. But I do think at the same time Nemini is able to nullify most of the impact that the bot lane from Venomcrest can put out from the early to the mid game. Late game will always be an issue.
Yeah, so we'll see the R5 Nemini Bard returning to the Four Nations stage, and it's gonna tear it up. That's my hope. That's what I dream of, is seeing the Nemini/Sack Bard from old Paragon days for all the old heads in the chat. I believe we are heading into draft pretty shortly. The players are beginning to draft just now. We will get some sort of solution in place for now. While we're waiting for that to rock up, as I believe we kind of introduced this matchup decently well, next week we are starting in the lower bracket. And I guess I wanted to get your opinions on... We'll start with you, Harold, and this time it's not even going to be like a rude question. I'm not going to take the opportunity to be mean, because I've already done like 4 times today.
Okay.
So, besides Bandits, of course, it kind of would be your kind of given answer, perhaps. What would be your sort of dark horse pick for the lower bracket run? Out of, I believe, Paragon, Gucci, if we take Bandits as a given, and then who even is the last team?
It is Belfast Storm.
It's Belfast Storm. Ah, of course. So if you had to pick one, who would be your dark horse in the lower bracket?
I can't give the corporate answer, so I guess
no,
I'll have to come
that's
up with
been
a
banned.
real
I'm
answer.
afraid. Suit and, shirt and tie aside, the corporate answer has been banned.
So, I mean, from what I have to go on that we saw in regular season and in scrims, I would have to say Paragon. Paragon are a team that have shown a lot of growth, in my opinion. It's a team that has clear ways of possibly winning the game. Ah! Draft!
Oh! Shut up about Paragon. We don't care about Paragon. It was next week's for Paragon. Okay, let's catch up on where we are. We're going to draft everybody. So, the Trizzy tax has not been fully paid. They have left the Kindred open. They've left the Viego open. So we'll see if RIZE will take the bait, perhaps. But that first pick, Nick, has come through. We have given bust Gragas. We have, if we're letting Trizzy have a power pick, certainly RIZE have let Venomcrest have one of their own.
Yeah, I kind of like the Scion as a response, because Scion, you can just go past the tower and proxy farm showers the bows. And this is actually a champion that is returning to the meta. Smolder is back in the mid lane.
Freshly buffed, I think, on this patch, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
I wish that people could see my face, because I am really confused.
Yeah, absolutely bamboozled by the so far draft strategy right now. The RIZE bans in totality were the Azir, the Air Azir, the Varus banned out of bot lane as well from Chrisberg, and then the Neferi jungle. So Frey's being taken off that, one of the carries that we have seen him turn his hand to recently. So Venomcrest locking in the Corki as an answer, of course, potentially flexible still between mid and bot lane, and then maybe thinking about that Vi. So maybe Frey's being, I guess, successfully kind of pushed into the enabling bridging jungler, but it is still, as controversial as the Vi has become, Harold, it is still very much like a go-to in this role.
Oh.
They're going to give it to us. Is he going to take the bait? It's been left. Surely this is the intention for Venomcrest, right? You leave the Trizzy Kindred open. You're expecting this to come out.
The Trizzy Trooper. Will he get the Kindred?
The Trizzler.
I am more surprised by the Scion, honestly.
Yeah, for Aniki, yeah.
Yeah, I expect the Gragas locked in. I expected something with a little more proactivity, but the Kindred is locked in. That's going to be fun.
Have we, Nick, have we solved the late game problem by building just like the two most late gamist carries we can draft in 2 lanes with Smolder and Kindred? With some, are we just going to stack frontline in front of Smolder and Kindred? Is this how we go late against Venomcrest?
Oh, it's difficult, because you need to get to the late game first with these two champions, and even like I'm a very big Kindred stan, but she needs to snowball very hard, and with a Smolder you can't really do that through the mid lane, and with the Scion you can't really do that through top lane. So I need to see a very, very brutal AD carry and support duo from RIZE Gaming. And, I mean, they are up against the Corki, which is a short-range champion, so there's definitely angles for that Ahri ban.
Yeah, taken away from Air. The Poppy is well denied. Now, Harold, if you're, I guess, 1, do you agree? And 2, if you're trying to draft a strong bot lane now to work with this Kindred Smolder Scion, how are we doing it here?
Well, it's guaranteed that the Smolder is mid lane. It could be in the bot lane.
True.
And the Kindred, the Corki as well. It's the same thing. Air or Korsberg could both pilot this champion. But Air has always been more reliant on the more scaling pace. We saw the Yone getting taken away, the Ahri getting taken away. The RIZE is still up, crucially, for everybody. And it's a blind pick support. I am not a fan.
I mean, Poppy and
Sin
Alice
the
are
last
banned
counter
out.
pick. Yeah.
Yeah, but Blitzcrank is open, and there's a possibility of just going Nautilus or Leona. There's still a lot of strong picks in the bot lane. If you really want to make the Rel's life out, the Brom is still available, and Brom Corki is a hell of a bot lane. So
yeah, the door has been slammed on my R5 Bard hope, sadly, and the Rakan picked up right here, so we'll see if they want to slam a Zyra Rakan and then shift Corki to mid, or if we're going to see potentially a pick for Air coming out in this mid lane for Venomcrest, and then we'll see what RIZE has in the tank, I guess. The Varus has been banned away by themselves, so they can't go to one of Sin's classic picks, and I'm thinking of other stuff that he'd play with the Rel here. I'm wondering if they just grab another scaling carry and wheel out the Sin Sivir once again, but we'll see as the Victor comes in for Air. So he still found himself, Harold, on a, he's found himself on a scaling mage in the mid lane. They can't take that away from him.
Now, the LeBlanc would go really hard for BB here.
Ooh, that'd be hype.
But
I think has he played it once this split? I think he might have done.
I think he might. I'm not 100% sure though, but I do think we're gonna default to something like the Rise. Rise is really strong into the Victor. Oh, the Annie is the other one.
Yes, okay. So we've got Burst, we have decent setup. It's a great setup champion, right? So Nick, have we got some decent setup down here for wait, are we going? We're not going Annie Rel bot lane, are we? Okay, no, we're not. Okay, it's fine. Hang on. Okay. So we've moved the Smolder lane away. So we've at least given Kindred something to play through, right? With this Annie in mid.
Yeah, Annie brings a lot of CC. It's very hard to miss Annie's CC, and it has burst as well. So at least Kindred can get stacks in the mid lane. How difficult it is to catch Victor, I don't think it's too difficult. So in that sense, I do think Kindred can snowball here.
It's a question of whether you can get on hold of Victor, because Victor can just farm at range and place down the gravity field. But really, really similar drafts at the end of the day. You're just switching up where the engage is.
Yep. Okay, right. Because we are, as we can tell, running a little behind the times, guys. We're going to get very quick predictions, so we both, and then we're going to toss it straight to our casters. Nick, RIZE, Venom Crest, game 1 at least. I'll not get a series score for you at this point. Game 1 at least. How are we feeling?
Just looking at the draft, I would say RIZE should be winning here, but I do believe in Venom Crest team finding abilities, so I will go with Venom Crest regardless.
Ignoring the draft, still giving it to Venom Crest. Harold, do you think the draft has enough power? Do you think RIZE has enough juice to take it over Venom Crest in game 1?
I am very much. I very much do know what the Trizzy Trooper is capable to do on the Kindred, so I will give it to RIZE on game 1.
Okay, nice. A little bit of faith for the RIZE. Love to see that. Right, let's pass it over to our casters. Thank you very much. Let's pass it over to J-Real and Bloxer for game 1 of Venom Crest versus RIZE Gaming.
Thank you very much, and you know what? We've switched sides here. We've switched sides right now, but I'm kind of here for it. I'm here for this game as well. This matchup is going to be massive, and Bloxer, we're back again. We're back in playoffs. The season is done, but here we go to take yourselves to the Golden Road.
Oh, this is an incredibly exciting matchup. I mean, both of these teams have had brilliant so far times in the split, but they really need to step up at this point. Venom Crest specifically, they've got huge expectations after what they did in the previous split, after having an almost undefeated time so far in this split, just falling to 5 IQ. They really want to just dismantle RIZE and move on in this upper bracket.
And it is interesting to me that there's so much comfort in this game, right? Like, we've talked about it. Bus getting the Gragas, Trizzy on the Kindred, we've got Phrase on Vi, a pick that we've seen him play so many times. Like, there's so many picks that are just like standard for the teams, and then we got a couple different ones, right? The Annie is definitely something that I'm watching out for. My only concern is range differential going into the later stages.
Yeah, I mean, once we get into the late stages of the game, right, as Venom Crest, you'd better be doing everything possible to be closing that gap, otherwise it's going to become very uncomfortable. I feel like if we get really late into this game anyway, though, RIZE are already going to be in an incredibly comfortable spot. It's very much going to be on the early game here for Venom Crest to see what they can do. As the desk was highlighting brilliantly, there's not so many lanes to really play around right here, as Trizzy potentially could play around BB Muffin in the mid lane. That was the highlighted matchup for a reason, but still, Victor, a very safe champion, should be able to neutralize the threat.
But also, what kind of sign are we getting? Are we going to see Iniki, down 0-9 early on, but 2 towers deep? Like, are we going to see the tanky, slow build Sion? Are we going to see some big charges later on? Like, I feel like there's a lot that could be played around on that top side without too much assistance, but it could definitely consume a lot of momentum for either of these junglers, right? With the grubs being up for grabs, right? Because I feel like definitely both teams are looking to team fight. I don't think either are looking to split push, except for that Sion.
Yeah, if the Sion's gotten ahead, has a couple of grubs under the belt as well, that's just such a miserable situation to be in, constantly having to send someone to go and deal with him, and then can rejoin those fights so quickly with the ulti as well. Definitely a potential option to try to play around. I think just grabbing the grubs would be helpful as well right here for RIZE. Again, like you said, with that range advantage they've got overall, it's just so easy to be able to siege onto these towers later game with that one picked up. Obviously, still a little ways away from that one coming through with all of the timings changes that we've got. So for right now, just going to be watching what these junglers are up to. They've gone very standard clears, both starting on the top side of the map, however working their way down towards the bottom lane. very pushed up at the moment of Venom Crest bottom lane, so could potentially open themselves up to a gank, but Kindred not particularly looking for early ganks unless they're super obvious.
And it's what Nick V talked about, right? He said the bot lane is going to be really important. Trizzy often swaying it for them on the RIZE side, and I feel like that is definitely going to be pretty imperative here. It's also the sentiment to me where, again, Des talked about it, but RIZE, they need to play for the late game, and I feel like it's something we see a lot in the UKL where teams will draft a really good late game comp. Like, we're talking like 3 blue eyes that come in the ultimate dragon kind of levels, but they just don't wait their time. Like, they play too early, they get themselves super far ahead at 20 minutes, and then it gets to 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and you're like, oh, now they'll come online, but actually they're 2 levels down, they're an item down, and they still haven't got to where they need to be.
Absolutely. Waiting long enough to fight for your item timings means that you don't get to just fight your opponents constantly, and that's something that UKL teams love to do. Everybody here on the Four Nations just wants to go for a fight at all times. And so it's unsurprising, really, that they struggle a little bit with getting themselves fully into those later stages. I think if any team's going to be able to do it, though, RIZE have shown that they have patience. They have ways to be able to slow down the game, and they've got such a great late game scaling composition. Like you were saying, you know, in terms of the best kind of scaling comps you can have, well, I think this is pretty good. However, BB is way up.
Yeah, Molten Shield will give them a bit of speed. Ooh, really nice stun onto Phrase, though. And I just gained a lot of confidence in the Annie there for BB Muffin because, you know, they played it cool and calculated.
I was pretty sure that was going to be a mistake right there, actually. Sin, he should be fine. Might be a little bit of a turnaround if Nemini wants one. Now, I was slightly worried there because BB Muffin stepped up despite fully having watched Phrase walk through his lane to go towards the top side of the map. He clearly knew that he had the outplay potential available to him. He's able to force air out of lane as well. So far, so good. This is really what we need to be tracking as we move forwards with this game. Are RIZE ahead? All they have to do is keep themselves even in this matchup, and they're going to be just fine once they get into the mid to late game.
Oh, Bust with the flash. Oh, trying to put Nicky with a bit of heat there. Will force the flash from the Siren as well. And I was about to say before that play, I was like, hey, people talked about this Gragas, but it is losing to the Siren right now. But Bust reminding me once again why he's so good on this pick.
Yeah, this is one of those pickups that I'm often like, just get rid of it, you know? Taking people's one tricks away is often great, and Bust is just amazing on this Gragas. Is getting pushed around right now, though, which is surprising. Usually you're able to just out-sustain out through the Scion, but the minute hasn't really been able to get that through, although, you know, we are still sat on the initial starting items at the moment, so not too worrying. Everybody is completely out of mana as well right here in this top lane. Little bit... worrying here for Bust,
little by little, Bust is getting just slowly chunked out. And Trizzy's on the way. This could be a kill, but it's difficult though. Under the tower as Gragas, level 6, a little bit of mana. The W going to stop the recall though. Bust is going to be able to play a little bit more time. It's not going to be just yet that we see it down. I don't think Wolf's Frenzy is going to be up again, and Nicky not having the mana, I think, for anything. So
he missed his E.
And
he missed. He kicked the minion through, didn't hit it, allows the recall to come through, and that's the reset the Bust really needed. You can see he gets back here with, most importantly, a little bit of extra mana to try to play around here. Got himself back here, stacking up obviously now with a Sapphire Crystal too. He's chilling. That's really unfortunate right there for Anarchy. He had Bust pinned in such a horrible situation.
And it's also a massive loss of tempo, right? Trizzy waited, now a little bit behind Phrase. Phrase is going to get this dragon completely uncontested, and it's going to start that pressure to apply for Venom Crest. And we talked about you need to play for the late game, you need to not get those early fights in. Well, they're going to get forced if they don't do anything about these dragons ticking over.
Exactly. Getting this early dragon so critical right here for Venom Crest. You're going to be stacking those.
Early dragon, but not going to be an early kill.
So close though. Had incredibly low health bars in this game so far. Haven't quite been able to pick up any of the kills. And if you do get an early kill right there as a victor in this matchup, that's just so devastating for the Annie. The Annie wants to be in a much stronger lane dominant position. But the fact that we're watching Air kind of push him around at the moment on one of these signature picks as well with the Victor. Phrase hovering around 2, doesn't have that level 6, so no easy way to be able to engage right here onto either BB Muffin or Trizzy. Instead, seems like just be getting a little bit of vision. Hang on, we can go here to just stop the recall at least. Oh, he just gets it. Wow,
he does more than that. The uppercut coming through, and I was thinking it might be a little bit overconfident from Phrase, but BB Muffin caught in shop, not on map, and gets picked up for it. First blood.
Exactly. If BB Muffin's looking at the screen properly there, you shouldn't die to that one. Should be able to get the stun off, but unfortunately he's not going to be able to. And now FaZe running down Anarchy as well.
Yeah, but it's gonna take a lot, you know. I feel like Sion's quite the problem, although with the cease and desist, able to buy a bit more time. On the flip side, though, Trizzy is getting onto Bust, a bit of damage, but now Air turning it around, and Trizzy not with too much movement, but the knock up from the Sion is massive, and Aniki able to buy a bit of time for Trizzy. Now BB Muffin is moving forward, but the cask holds him at bay, and a lot of fighting once again, and no kills in the bot lane. Nebony and Sin are very far away from each other, and Chris Berg will flash in for this kill. Nebony goes down.
I assume from that flash that it was potentially just going to be an execute there, although I can't see how. What a complete mess of fights. Now we're going to get a huge amount of damage onto Air. Does get the stun off through the E, though. Frey's going to be forced to disengage away from these grubs. BB Muffin, he still smells blood, continuing to push on forwards into Venom Crest bot lane.
One grub picked up already, so the pressure starting to mount from Venom Crest once again, and this is what they wanted, Bloxer, right? They need to have that early game. They're getting that pressure early. That's what they need to do. They need to allow for themselves to have that opening, you know, having that cushion as we get towards the late game, as we are going to see the trade-off for the grubs, and FaZe is going to take that one away from Trizzy. But can anything happen for RIZE here? They brought Nemini up to add to their potential for this fight, but they're only going to get one here. They're not going to get the point towards the boots either, and all in all, Venom Crest are running the map.
Really are, and this is what Venom Crest are so good at. This is what we've been talking about from various Venom Crest rosters across the course of the last 3 years. They're just so good across the map. Their macro has always been incredibly well coached, and you can see it in the way that they just know where to play. Haven't been having to pull multiple members around to these fights to still be able to win them. Playing very aggressive as well, and yes, their opponents do outscale them overall, but so far in this early game, they're getting themselves towards these item break points, very close to those first items coming through, and that's the point at which Venom Crest composition really does come online, with these ultis now available, with the first items nearly in the bank. That's the point where you can really start to play this map and put the pressure on RIZE here.
As you said, 1.5k gold in the lead, plus a dragon, plus the 2 grubs. They're getting themselves closer and closer to getting those upgraded boots. And at the moment, it feels like RIZE, in a way, I'm kind of split, Bloxer, because they're respecting the aggression, but they're also just not getting those kills themselves, and I do feel like they're slowly slipping their grip away, and we've seen how good Venom Crest are at closing out games. It does bring that question to my mind of how can they slow this tempo down. The dive underneath the tower, the Tibbers comes out, but Frey's just able to walk away for the moment. I think we'll just dash out with Vault Breaker, and once again RIZE cannot answer.
Oh, he's not.
Or can they? Aniki from the top comes down, axe down, and here's the kill for Trizzy.
There we go, lovely first kill on the board right here for RIZE. Yes, they do lose out onto that feat of warfare. It's a brilliant ulti from Aniki to be able to pick that one up, at least stops that aggression from coming through, and doesn't even lose too many minions on the top side either, with Bust just pushing that one in for him. And so it's something back, it's a little bit back to try to play around. Oh, as we watch Nebony fail to get over the wall, is going to be forced to blow the flash for that mistake.
Yeah, did get the Rakan ultimate. Yeah, the quickness just for some sort of consolidation prize, but it's definitely not going to feel too good. And like you said, right, they got something back. Okay, they finally get something on the boards. RIZE finally picking up a kill. It is quite late into the game though, and the pressure, if we look at the towers alone, is starting to dwindle, and the gold lead is really reflecting that. In the top side now, Bust with the solo kill too. Venom Crest not feeling confident, but this is where they're strong. They have to really push the pedal now.
Yes, this is the moment when you have to be playing as much as possible. FaZe especially right here with that on the side now completed. This is the strongest point that you're going to be at right here on this Vi. You need to be making the absolute most of it. You've got a Drake to try to play around. It would be your second. The Drake stacking again, another way to accelerate the pace of this game right here for Venom Crest. They're going to start this one up. RIZE do have multiple members in the area, but are they going to feel confident enough to step up?
No quickness for Rakan does mean that it's actually harder to lock down the team. They've forced them away. Venom Crest respecting the power that RIZE have, because we've talked about how RIZE need to be careful about taking these fights, Boxer, but also if Venom Crest take a bad fight, get behind, give over a load of gold, it could potentially just snowball the game out of control.
It can wreck your game so very quickly right here, and that's why we're seeing a little bit of just pause out of VNC, you know, making sure they're going to be taking the correct fights for themselves right here. Both junglers playing around the Drake, playing around the bottom side of the map at the moment. Mid lane going to be pushed out right here by air, so they're going to have full control over both the mid and the bottom lanes. They should once again open up the pits to VNC to potentially look at. Not necessarily going to start this one up right now, though. They still don't particularly feel confident, and yeah, top lane's being weird at the moment. I mean, 30 seconds ago, Bust was also proxying between the tier 1 and the tier 2 towers, so these top laners, they're not particularly interested in looking elsewhere at the moment, although now Anaki's going to be wandering over. Does have the ulti, he wants to quickly join the fight.
I love this. I love this. Right now, Proper Panda in a bit of trouble here. We'll get the knock up on to the Annie, and that's a lot of follow-up on the BB Muffin, but Proper Panda so low. The Dragon already taken. Here comes the Scion. Air in trouble. Goes down. Proper Panda flashing away and will survive, but here's RIZE starting to come back into the game.
There we go. Again, a second one of those ultis from Anarchy going to result in a kill. Drake also going over, so that stacking has been stopped dead in its tracks right here. This is the worry for VNC. Yes, your team composition is very strong on that single target engage damage if you can land it, but there's no point in that fight where FaZe was able to just get involved and actually try to make the kill happen. Bust is very strong right now. I mean,
yeah, Bust's really trying to get onto it with Trizzy. Trizzy does have Lamb's Respite, though, should be able to survive for quite a bit longer. And here comes the Nikki, and this could be a dangerous time, but the Vi joining in makes it so much worse. Gets a 1-for-1. It is going to be both junglers picking up the kills, but FaZe might need to be careful, although Proper Panda in the vicinity will mean a Nikki won't get the kill.
Yeah, I mean, you really just want to back that one off right there. He picked up another couple of assists right now. He's in a very strong position at the moment. Very tanky Scion already at this point in the game. FaZe, once again, been having a pretty good time so far. He's got Blast Cone. He's all good at this point. We're just going to watch a lot of aggression happen right here onto this mid lane tower. And one thing we've kind of not fully tracked, although hang on, support's kind of fighting.
The Vi's behind you. All right. Oh yeah, the supports in that jungle. I think they're just gonna get out all fine. Yeah. But yeah, going back to your point, Bloxer.
The marks. How many marks are we at on Trizzy, and how many stacks have we got so far on this Smolder? Because the early game very much going to be about what VNC can do for themselves, but you've got that ticking time bomb just waiting for you. So much scaling, the health scaling of the Scion as well. RIZE really are just going to be a looming threat here. VNC particularly got themselves ahead.
Ooh, Air gonna have to flash away. This is a lot of damage going down. The Magnet Storm on top as well. It's an easy pickup, and RIZE just dispatching of a kill immediately. And I do want to bring attention to what you said, right? I've kind of forgot that Smolder was in the game, and that's exactly what you want as RIZE, right? You want to just have time to scale, and then boom, the Dragon comes out of nowhere.
Exactly, just been chilling so far, but had a very easy time of it in the lane. Yeah, it's going to be down by about 30 CS in the individual matchup, but I gotta be honest, not the end of the world for as much free scaling as this Smolder has been afforded so far in the game. We'll have to check in on the stacks next time we do hover over him to see how far we are away from those executes. We saw in that team fight there already, dealing decent little amounts of damage. Mum already coming through for a bit as well. Now Bust. Get dove here. It'd be very risky to try to dive onto the Gragas, but with the setup around this Herald at the moment, interesting to see if Trizzy decides to actually complete that recall. He does indeed. Alright, so had a little bit extra to buy for himself. Now we're going to get a little bit of fight on the ground.
I feel like they should go for the Herald as well. VNC, they have the upgraded smite, right? Trizzy hasn't completed the smite item, so it's only on 900. FaZe will have the 1200, and I feel like VNC should really just abuse that, right? They're already ahead, they already have that lead, they have a stronger team fight at the moment, and they have the bigger smite. Like, the Herald is all but theirs.
Exactly, they should just be able to start this one up, although it's gotta be in the back of your mind at the moment with VNC that every single time you've started a bit of a skirmish, a team fight, RIZE have collapsed on you very quickly and gotten a couple of picks. So I can understand why they're a little bit slower to start this one up. They do now begin this one. FaZe is going to be Herald right here, and there's no real response. You can see there's going to be far more aggression heading on down towards the bottom side of the map, potentially just to steal away the mark, or a dive right here if you want it onto air.
But maybe it's one step too far. You know, I think the Herald will be picked up. I don't know if the dive on the bot lane will happen, but Trizzy will go in, will counter jungle, will get a little bit of farm for themselves. The Herald, though, I'm really excited to see how VNC use it, right? Dragons, one apiece. The next one's coming up in a minute. They've now got the Herald. They've started to open up these tier 1s, right? Can they go and break down mid?
There's going to be 6 marks now. completed right here for Trizzy, so he's actually done a really good job in the early game of picking himself up a lot of marks. 6 is a perfectly reasonable place to be in at 17 minutes into the game. Happy with this one so far. As we have a look back at our top laners, both do have teleports available for them, so as we don't get too unhealthy during this skirmishing that's happening right now, could potentially see some teleports coming through, as we do have a Drake spawning in just 30 seconds time.
Ooh, it's coming up. The dragon's coming up. The fight could be nearing. You know, it's been a slow game. It's been a slow game, and I'm okay with that because we got a series. I would like it to go to 3, and it's gonna heat up right now. That's a kill onto proper Panda, and that is so much control for RIZE. No support means it's so hard to lock down these carries, and like we said, the range coming in from the Sin and also from the Kindred. Another kill from deep back, and Chrisberg meeting the Scion in the face. That's gonna be a flash, but it does not change his fate.
3 quick kills right there for RIZE, and they're going to be able to turn around and get this Drake as well, their second of the game. We're talking about the scaling right here for RIZE, but what we haven't really talked about is the proactivity that this team brings to the table. Just aggression right there. I love getting Anarchy from the top side, immediate engage right there from BB Mushroom to just pick the kill up onto proper Panda. Didn't even mind particularly that it was a support that you killed, because once the Rakan is down, that's a ton of the backline access and threat of Venom Crest just deleted straight off of the map, and it's an immediate teamfight win there for RIZE that Venom Crest never even had a chance in.
And we didn't get to see a straight up team fight, but Bloxer, it's starting to show exactly one of the problems we talked about from the get-go. Because Sin is looking like prime Aaron Rodgers right now, and he's just throwing them spells deep, bro. You can't get close to him before the damage hits you.
No, at the point at which you are even looking at Sin on your screen, he's already killed you. He's already pulled the reinforcements in.
Look at this! Look at how much damage he took! I think he took so little damage, and there was 3 people attacking him.
He does not care at this point, and I worry slightly the RIZE have actually hit that break point pre-20 minutes right now. Venom Crest should still technically be in the stronger spot, but they have just failed to convert on any of this early game power from the composition and turn it into kills. All of these teamfights have just been taken down, and the main reason for that right now has been Anarchy. You can see he's so tanky at the moment, but these ultis as well have just been critical.
Oh, the CC chaining, the knockups are here, the stuns are there, and it's just so much damage, forcing Proper Panda away, and they haven't even brought the damage dealers in. Trizzy and Sin were not in that fight. Now, I will say, there is still a lot of time in this game, although not for Chrisberg. Run, Corky, but you're gonna be hunted down.
Yeah, the chase down is too much. The lockdown CC, BB Buffett can hit it without even having to worry about it, and then just, you are not moving. There's gonna be a moment again where you're looking at the death breakdown like, damn, I was CC'd for 4.5 seconds. Well, you know, I guess there's nothing I can do, and that means RIZE are gonna open up right here onto the Atacom. What can he do as
Trizzy a bit isolated here, though. This is a problematic moment, although the Lazarus Spike comes in clutch. He stays alive a little bit longer. The team moves in, but the fight is starting to get onto Sin. Phrase goes, but the dragon just breathes pure fire. Air gonna have to run away. No match for the team. The knockups are there. The damage will follow, and Air will collapse.
During the regular season, Venom Crest had RIZE's number. They were just too strong for them. RIZE, they've been getting better and better as we've gotten later and later on into this split. And at this point, it feels like they've got Venom Crest well and truly on the ropes.
The gold difference has swung all the way back 1,500 over to the side of RIZE. The pressure is in their hands right now, and it's a sentiment of, you said it could be getting to that break point. They might be pretty much winning the game. There is still a lot of game to go. Venom Crest are very good at getting one good team fight and bringing the game back into their hands. So RIZE still have to play it very clean, but the odds are in their favor.
Absolutely. Always got to have respect for Venom Crest. They know how to bite back. They can strike at a moment's notice. But they really haven't been able to put themselves in that advantage we were talking about. Use the composition effectively in the early game. It's been an okay game so far from Phrase in terms of the laning phase, but the second that we got out of it, the second it wasn't just little small-scale skirmishes, hasn't been able to convert this into a Vi that feels effective in the team fight so far. I haven't seen any propaganda engages that have really wowed me either, whereas RIZE, all across the board, everybody's been having moments that have just really popped off for themselves. It's a big big reason why RIZE are ahead at the moment. I've got a minute 30 until we're going to have the next Drake spawning, and the Atakan didn't go down on the backside of that fight, so we do have multiple objectives across both sides of the map to be playing for soon.
And I've got to say, one of the big MVPs for me. Like, I know we talked about the Kindred pick, I know we talked about the Smolder, but this Scion of Anarchy has been so good. He's corralling Bust on this Gragas. He's causing problems. Teams are going to try and fight him, and he just tanks the damage like it's nothing and blocks her. It has just been such a game changer, because Venom Crest feel like they can't really do anything to this Scion, and then when you go into those team fights later on, he's just going to be in your face.
Yeah, the Scion can absorb every single last bit of damage, and that's not even to mention the fact that the Rel gonna be incredibly tanky for Nemini as well, and if anybody does get low, you've got a Lamb's Respite to deal with as well, so there's just so much effective health available right here to the side of RIZE. The Venom Crest composition is really struggling to deal with. They've got some decent AoE damage through air, but even he's only just about got that Blackfire Torch completed. It's 2 items completed for BB Muffin over on the other side of it. Venom Crest are just too far behind at this point to really find these straight up 5v5 wins. I have to think it's going to be on the picks right here from FaZe and Proper Panda. Where can you find that initial win, get a kill, and then win out a team fight in a 4v5?
I think also the fact that the game goes later and later, though, the Victor will start to become more and more online. Right now, though, this is a lot of damage going on to Nikki. It will take them some time, but 4 members into the top side is no joke. It's going to be all 5. He tries to turn around. Sind is starting to turn up. The fire is starting to heat up as well, but Venom Crest get the first kill in the fight. They've taken down the Annie, and that is a nice pickup here. Dragon will be picked up by Trizzy completely on the other side of the map, which could potentially force the hand of Venom Crest. They will go right now for this Atakan.
Ooh, and interesting actually. Trizzy looked like he wanted to just concede that one, was peeing down, wanting to go get that mark. Instead, Anarchy gonna teleport back into this fight. They want to go.
They are looking for it. Sin can play range, but is a little bit split off from the team. Maybe in trouble. Gonna have to flash away from Phrases. Anarchy's just tanking in the middle of the fight, but Corki is starting to do a lot of damage. They have now taken down low. They will be able to pick up the Atakan and start to walk away, losing 1 member so far, but can it be more? Air with the damage onto Trizzy, forcing the Lamb back. The Wolf not able to bite.
I'm not quite going to be able to pick up any more of those kills, so it is at least going to be the Atakan going over to Venom Crest. Critical for keeping themselves within touching distance of RIZE in this one, but like you said, start on the Drake, and that's now soul point available right here for RIZE. An incredibly strong spot, and 25 minutes into this game, the Baron will spawn. 2,000 gold the advantage here for RIZE. The scaling composition well and truly online at this point as well. And there really just hasn't been enough backline threat so far out of Venom Crest. That previous team fight was better. They did eventually manage to get through most of the health bar of Anarchy, pick up the kill onto BB Muffin. They're going to have to replicate that success if they want any chances of winning.
I really want to see the stacks at the moment. I think Trizzy's on around 7. Right now, though, Sin, how many marks do they have? They're looking for more. Proper Panda flashing away, dashing themselves out, and also with the quickness, able to speed away. But all of those cooldowns are gone now, and the Baron is still up. It's opening for the opportunity, as in the top side, and Nikki with the big slam, and the shield pop is massive. Air is trying to run away from the Scion, will get a little bit of distance, but for how long can you run? I think the tower will dissuade Nikki finally, but Air might have to go back to base. This could potentially open up for the Baron. Trizzy's going to get aggressive with it, will be able to pop the Lazarus Bite and buy themselves some time from the Chaos Storm, but it is now just going to be an easy turn onto the Baron potentially. Although I like this from Venom Crest, they're causing problems across the map. They're going to take a mid-tier 2 with all this chaos.
Yeah, nobody dies for Venom Crest, and they are able to use the fact they got those 2 grubs earlier on to melt through that tower in the mid lane. It's going to open up the map a lot for them as well. And talking about it, right? Venom Crest map play always incredibly strong, something they really are going to have to turn to, rely upon in this game. They want to pick up the win. Right, they're going to start themselves up this Baron, and there's no vision on it at the moment. You're going to have to expect that Venom Crest sense something is up, but there's no urgency towards the pit at the moment at all. This one's just going to be gone.
And they got to move. They got to move right now. The Baron's already gone. Like, they didn't even think about it. They've already lost it, right? You got to think that Sin and Trizzy are doing so much damage right now.
Shredded.
Oh, please, Prod, show us the stacks.
Yeah, how many stacks have we got right here? We've got 7 marks on Trizzy, so he's not really been able to expand that too much. He was on 6 at 17 minutes, so that's only 1 extra mark for him. Sin, I think, is going to be where it's really at the moment, though. Had an incredibly easy, chill early game for himself, and really has just been continuing to absorb so much farm. 500 gold shut down, no deaths at the moment on this Smolder. Going to be a key target here for Venom Crest.
And also level 15 as well, almost the highest level on the side of RIZE, but that's a massive shutdown to kill the dragon.
Curse.
This could open up the base.
It really could. Yeah, they can keep going right here.
Ooh.
Proper Panda dying here is not ideal. That's a lot of your engage just gone, but still, you're not going to be too mad about trading over your ADC for support.
Yeah, and it's a great way to hold off the team, and like you said, it's not just the support, it's not just the ADC, right? It's the fact that that's the first death for Sin, that's a shutdown, that's a lot of gold, and it just delays the time. Now, we talked about RIZE obviously going into the scaling, right? It's a sentiment of, we know that we favored them if they get to 35 and it's all even Stevens, but like we just saw, picks can happen, and Venom Crest, they're crafty. So they're crafty, they're working their way around this map still.
And they've got themselves a composition that can go for these quick snap engages, find picks. That plus the fact that Sin getting caught on mid is, you know, something that we've seen a couple of times before, potentially. There is an avenue to try to play around. 30 seconds now until the Drake is going to be up, and this is going to be the critical objective right here. You cannot afford to give this one over to RIZE.
267 is the stack mark for the Smolder.
6-7.
So executes in, damage is plenty, but look at Chrisberg's damage there. That was massive, but here comes the Scion. Choo-choo, the train has managed to get to the station, but on the flip side of the fight, they've already taken down the rail. Chrisberg is just having to run from Aniki, and Bus is also going to have to run for the rest of the RIZE team. They're looking for blood, but they can't find it just yet, and it's another kill given over from Venom Crest, and it's actually RIZE that are starting to falter in this fight. Trizzy gonna have to pop the Lamb's Respite. We'll give them a little bit more time, and Sin able to turn the focus onto the buy. Frazo doing a lot of damage, staying alive. Proper Panda now buying a little bit more focus from Sin, and they just can't get into range. They can't do the damage. RIZE are falling apart because they cannot get the damage off, and Venom Crest, they've managed to work this fight beautifully, every single angle, and they've kept 3 alive.
Yeah, Aniki going to be the only member right here for RIZE. And the Drake is going to be engaged upon right here for Venom Crest, but Nemini has respawned. Aniki is still here. They can potentially try to push up onto this one. No smites available, though. You're going to have to think this one's easily picked up by Venom Crest, and they get away with it. They managed to stop that Chemtech Soul going over to RIZE. So critical for them going forwards. What a well-executed fight for them.
And it was just exactly what I said earlier. They're crafty. They were playing around the ranges. They were popping out and then going away. Like, they were just everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And RIZE just couldn't get the focus. If they're able to stand and fight and just do damage for damage, RIZE are going to smash them every single time. But Venom Crest, they're smart with it, and they actually managed to get the fight. They managed to get the dragon, and they hold themselves in the game. The only worry I have for them, Bloxer, is they're gonna have to do that again. They're gonna have to keep having these crafty fights, and they have to do so much more just to get the same amount of result as RIZE right now.
Again and again and again, Venom Crest, the time for this game to be easy has well and truly passed. Still though, 3 items completed onto Chrisberg is in a very strong spot. Fraze also is very impressed with the way he was able to weave his way in and out of that fight. Surviving through a fight like that as a Vi, very tricky to do, constantly having to jump into the backline, picking up that second kill onto Sin. We'd just praised how Sin had not died for the entirety of the game, gets caught on mid, and then isn't able to do anything really in that team fight either. Real worry for RIZE going forwards. If they can't have these key carries execute now that they've gotten themselves to those scaling breakpoints, that's a big problem.
And I'm looking at Air. I'm looking at Chrisberg. Chrisberg was forced out of that fight by the Scion, but did not die. Stayed alive, able to come back and dish out a lot of damage. Yes, 3-2-3 doesn't sound like a great score, but the gold that this Corki has amounted, the 4 items they have collected, they are dangerous.
Oh yeah, they can shred through somebody if given half a chance at this point. Another key thing to track going forwards is where is the Lamb's Respite used? Is it going to be used aggressively or just entirely defensively? Because if you pop down that Lamb's Respite at the wrong time and you've still got Chrisberg laying down the damage and you've still got the Arcane Storm from air available when it ends, you're still just going to get popped down. The healing won't take you out of range of getting killed from that one. So it's not just a completely free get out of jail card right here for Trizzy and the rest of RIZE.
And he's going for that split push. Hasn't gone AD though, so this is still going to take a while for this tower to go down. Obviously does have the teleport, so can join the team fight whenever. Trizzy needs to be a bit careful though. Do not want to be getting picked before this Baron is up in 27 seconds. And right now VNC doing a really good job of getting the wards down, forcing vision away from RIZE and making it scary to walk near this objective.
Forcing just as much space as possible right here with a composition that struggles a little bit in these straight up 5v5 team fights and that potentially would like to get a pick first. Vision going to be absolutely critical going on forwards. Next Baron is going to spawn onto the map right here. 2 minutes until the Drake is up. A couple of minutes to potentially try to play around this one. And we saw previously that RIZE just stole that initial Baron straight out from under the noses of VNC. They weren't, however, able to convert it into a ton of extra gold for themselves. Let's see if they can do it a little bit better this time around.
Okay, no vision on the actual Baron, but this time VNC know that it is happening. It is happening pretty fast as well, so they do have to move in. Halfway through the Baron, they're going to charge forward. Proper Panda with the knockup onto Nikki. The TP in the middle of this fight might be a bit bold, and they immediately go down. Busty is dead. VNC in a tough spot because they're front to backing, and this is not the game they wanted to play. They need to be crafty, and they were not. They tried to go heads up, and they got slammed into the ground.
Straight up 5v5 team fights at the point at which RIZE have scaled is just not the way forwards. Phrase tries to get into the back line, tries to burst out Sin, but just doesn't have that damage available to him. Only a 2-item buy at the moment. And immediately goes wrong right here. That's the team fight that RIZE really needed. They picked themselves up their second Baron of this game. And with 40 seconds now until the Drake spawns, this is going to be another key objective for them to play around. RIZE, once again, in total control of this game.
They need to play like a rogue. They tried to play like a barbarian, but they didn't have the stats. They went reckless and they paid for it in that fight. They now have another opportunity. Dragon is coming up in 30 seconds, Bloxer. VNC get more chances, but they don't have many more chances. The knockup there gonna come through. The damage is just disgusting from range as well. Sin burns through air.
Absolutely nothing that Air could do in that situation once he didn't flash that initial engage, and now with those Baron empowered minions pouring on forwards, this tower going to be under massive threat as well. The amount of damage available to RIZE is huge, and more important than even taking this tower is just establishing the mid lane control. You could peel back around and pick yourself up this soul point right here for RIZE. Themselves up this Chemtech Soul, just another way in which it's going to make VNC's lives harder and harder. The Drake does indeed go down, and now the sieging can really begin.
So, point that I feel like now, Bloxer, the win con for VNC, you know, you've almost got to play another 5 minutes and try to go for that Elder.
Yep. Stall, survive, keep as many towers up as possible, and then hope and pray. You know,
they need to know the 5Ds are dodgeable. You know, that's what they need. They need to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge all of Sin's abilities, because if they do not do that, they are going to lose.
Yes, the second that somebody gets caught right here from Anarchy, the CC chain that RIZE have available to them is massive, and the amount of damage available to is insane. As we saw in that fight, Sin is executing people like a beast at the moment. 4 items completed on this Smolder, a ton of stacks in the back pocket as well. 9 marks on Trizzy too. He has been playing an incredibly good game so far on this Kindred, was able to get through the early game relatively well, and now with these Baron empowered minions, let's see what RIZE can do. With their first Baron, they weren't really able to convert it into particularly too many towers. Bot lane tier 2 going to be the initial focus.
The Scion Soul Furnace as well, by the way. The big shield is about 400 to 500 at the moment. And it's just going to keep growing. That's the dirty bit about it. Trizzy, though, will take quite a bit of damage from Chrisberg. Does still need to be careful. Still squishy, even though dishing out a lot of damage to themselves. And it's just a patience game right here. You know, RIZE, they have all of the chips. They have all the opportunities. They're 5k gold ahead. They have the Baron. They have the Soul. They have the opportunities to take these fights, but they need to just not overplay their hand. Tier 2 in the mid will be taken.
Push on towards this tier number 3 as well. If they can take down this inhibitor tower, it opens up the base, cracks that one open. Makes it so much harder for Venomcrest to be able to step up for any of these future objectives. Not quite going to be able to do that right now. Buff is going to fall off, and so RIZE, they're going to back away, but incredible spoils that they've been able to get for themselves throughout this fight, and in fact might even be looking to set up a little bit of a fanatic death brush right here. I mean, I can't... Propaganda, do not step. There's no point in walking into this bottom side right now. Please. 3 minutes until
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
There's
Boss,
nothing
no.
there. There's nothing
Boss, no.
to go here. There's
Boss,
no reason to be here ever, and Buster's decided that he will move forwards. He gets out alive as Mum doesn't manage to clip the Gragas.
Not quite, but you do now lose the flash.
And Nikki did get into the middle of this fight. Proper Panda going to go aggressive onto the backline. Trizzy with the Lambs of Spike will keep himself alive against Air. Air going to be having to flash away. Proper Panda goes down. BB Muffin also staying alive with a slither of HP as in goes the Smolder. But no one is catching fire just yet. Chrisberg still alive, and on the black is Bust. Flank comes through. Sin in trouble. Low HP goes down. And Air able to force forward with that damage. They pick up 2 more kills, and Trizzy is sent running. And could this be the turnaround of the night?
Oh my lord, I can't believe that Venomcrest get away with this one. Bust is a lucky, lucky man. But now the teleport going to come through. They are hunting for Trizzy. No, they're just going to try to push forward 30 seconds, as you're saying, onto any of these key carries. I mean, they do quite a lot of tower damage as well. It's going to be all on Trizzy right here, and he does not have that ulti.
No Lambs Respite. 4 members alive. A little bit of CC is all it takes to set them up on a plate. That could be dinner. That could be game 1. The knockback is the other way, but the towers are falling down. Venomcrest are coming back to take the game. Game 1.
What?
All on a play that should never have gone their way. And that one hurts. That one is going to hurt. RIZE had it in their hand. The game sorted. No dramas. And you know what, Blocks? I'm blaming you for that one. You know, you mentioned Fnatic. We all know that Shox cursed Fnatic way back. You know, you mentioned the cursed name, and then RIZE lost the game. So it's Blocks' fault. And we're going to take your silence as admittance to that one. Yeah. We're just going to send it. We don't even need to talk about it no more. We're going to send it to the desk or the break. Either one is fine.
Should be this, I think.
Ooh. Guys. That was the most frustrating 90 seconds of my Four Nations casting career, everybody. How did they lose that one, folks? How did they do it? Somebody explain it. Harold, what have RIZE wrought on the Rift right here? What have they done to us all?
Yep, they did.
Yeah. That's just production in your ear, buddy. Don't worry about it. Continue your your thought. Yeah, it was.
Oh, Harold
it was doing so well.
Muted, I guess.
Oh, that's why. Okay, right. Okay, so let's Nick If we summarize what Harold said as he's really mad about it.
I will try to do that in the Harold's fashion. Is they did their jobs until 36 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they threw it all. They had the wave states to keep pushing, and they set up a kill brush for no reason. And they threw everything at Bust failed, and then they just got swept.
Yeah, and they hung after that last fight. We'll see the replay at some point, but like we need to, before we get into this, because this is not going to be a RIZE positive series of replays, guys. But we do need to give some credit out first to Aniki on the Scion. I'm hoping that we can now hear Harold. Yeah, I mean, if the people can hear Harold, let us know. But because this was, I think, something that I'd asked you about in the game while we were watching, and you mentioned the Scion in the draft, and into the Bus Gragas, right? We let the Bus Gragas through, but we still had this massive performance from Aniki. I can't tell yet if we can hear Harold, so at this point, Nick, you can start us off on this, because this your point about the Bus Gragas, I guess. Let's take it in from this angle. So you mentioned like this Bus Gragas, and like you don't give him this pick, guys. Just don't do it. They left it open. It gets first picked by them, right? And then RIZE has the perfect answer. So tell us a little bit what Aniki did to actually manage the Bus Gragas and then use the Scion in this game.
Can the people hear me?
Aniki was really strong in keeping Bust in check, keep him under his tower, making sure that, number one, he gets poked, but number two, always favorable trades, and eventually he just out-CS'd Bust's Gragas, and that way he was so relevant with his ultimates, always being on time in team fights, making sure that he chases away, for example, Chris Burger, one of the later team fights, and that just meant that with all the agency that Aniki had, he could make sure that RIZE Gaming kept in the game for a long time until the incident.
Until the incident. We'll get to the incident. But the other factor I think about this game that we were very happy with, right? We were speaking about like do not go late game against Venom Crest. Nobody can out late game Venom Crest. But Harold, now that we have Harold mic'd up and ready to go, Venom Crest, they didn't pay the trophy tax. They let the Kindred open, and it seemed like RIZE had this plan to go the Smolder, the Scion, the Kindred. Just tell us a little bit about what RIZE did to actually, first to make it to late game, to successfully make it, and then how well it was going, I suppose. What they were doing right in the game up to that point.
Well, it really became a game of chicken, basically. Running away from the enemy's play and just trying to salvage whatever you can where the play is happening. If they're attacking Aniki, he's on side. He doesn't really care if you're attacking him. He just will press Q and farm the wave. But if they're attacking Sin in the bot lane, then you're maybe shifting down one or two members in BB Muffin or Trizzy to try and cover the play, to try and dissuade Venom Crest from making it happen. You might drop CS. We saw Chrisberg having a 30-40 CS lead in the bot lane. But it's still Smolder. It gets to late game. It's still the baby dragon that terrorized pro play for half a year. So it is very much a case of RIZE were able to to absorb the blows. It was very much like punching foam. You're still hitting, you're still thwacking, and yet like it just gets back to you slowly, and it's just it was very good from RIZE until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't. Now, we are going to prep a couple of replays for you guys. We're going to take a very brief break just to make sure they're all working functionally properly. So we're going to go to a break for a couple of minutes, then we'll be back. We'll take a look at the late stage of that game, break down where it went wrong for RIZE before we get ready for game number 2. So don't go anywhere, guys. Welcome back, everybody. So, let's talk a little bit about how this went wrong, right? And we've talked a little about what RIZE did well. We unfortunately need to discuss what they did wrong, and we need to talk about what Venom Crest did right. So, Nick, for Venom Crest, up to that point, they were struggling to get stuck onto RIZE. Can you quickly tell us about kind of where are they at? What stage of the game are they at when they're trying to play into this RIZE, into this late game? Like, what is the Venom Crest mission? What are they struggling with, and what are they kind of not able to achieve up to that point?
Yeah, because Aniki was so ahead in this game compared to Buzz, Venom Crest really was struggling to find the team fights that they wanted to take, whereas RIZE didn't really want to take them, but if they needed to, then because of Aniki being so far ahead and like the mid laner and the AD carry not being too far behind, it meant that they could still bring the fight to Venom Crest, and I feel like Venom Crest isn't really used to having a team fight back in that way, right? So Venom Crest really struggled to get there, and I do believe there was one team fight at the Dragon Pit where Aniki chased away Chrisberg, but eventually because they were mismanaging the team fight, Venom Crest was still able to come out ahead in it, but like the overall story didn't really change there.
Yeah, it looked like a point where, for me, it felt like RIZE were a little disconnected and showing a little bit of the lack of 5v5 value that sometimes plagued them a little bit, but it was not one where Venom Crest looked particularly solid either, right? Harold, you were saying that maybe Venom Crest don't look all there necessarily. They don't look on perfect form, and RIZE were able to, like I say, they lost the team fight slightly, but if we cue our first replay, I think it's either going to be that fight or it's going to be the next fight that Venom Crest were struggling in heavily. Yes, it's this first Dragon, right? So tell us about how, kind of, what goes wrong here, what are RIZE trying to do, and why does it not work?
Yeah, like we see here, Aniki finds a beautiful engage. On the other side, though, Boss just blows up Nemini. Chrisberg is out of the fight, but then look, RIZE are all scattered. BB Muffin is getting chased. Sin and Aniki are trying to link back up together with Trizzy, and they're still all separated. Air is taking blue buff in the meantime. And then the fight is just really disconnected. Here, Sin has the chance of possibly getting everything, just getting the resets, not the resets, but like he gets the executes. And just the vision game on the side of Venom Crest, Proper Panda goes into the bush, places down a control ward, denies the vision, queues up the ulti, and then CC chains Sin out of the fight.
Yeah.
It also happens because they're so disjointed in that little window where you're fighting the engage. If you blow up Chrisberg, it's a different fight.
Yeah, and this fight is a bit of a foreshadowing for how the game progresses from there, because as you say, it's so close. Sin is like 1 Q away from killing 3 different people. You can see that the execution threshold is already there. He's farmed up well. He's got to the point where Smolder is now at the point where he's entering that late game. And Nick, if we enter our second replay, I believe, which should be kind of a further fight at the Baron Pit, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, then we get to see what the RIZE team fight was able to do, how this kind of composition worked once they were given just a couple more minutes to scale up a bit more.
Yeah, it's exactly what RIZE wants, right? BB Muffin in the back sees a teleport, instantly burst Buzz down. Not really sure why he was there, but he was. And then it's simply a clean up pick. Like, you have a front line, Aniki chasing everyone away while the rest of this team does all the work in the back line. And it's just a complete sweep after this. They get the Baron and they get a lead in this game.
Yeah, they get the 6th man of Tibbers hanging out there, the Scion's Tibbers kind of bouncers in the front of that little jungle choke that nobody can safely walk through when he is that massive. And yeah, it's just that looks like, wow, they've got the Baron now, and I think we were watching it going, that's it, game's over, game's done.
Yep.
We spoke the words, sadly, and maybe potentially lodged a caster curse from off the rift, but Harold, what did you want RIZE to do from that point when they got that Baron?
They should have just immediately taken... Well, 2 people shouldn't have been on Baron while they were doing it. Once you have the 3 kills, you're putting 2 people in the mid lane to take the tier 1. Then you're using that Baron timer and that push timer to get that tier 2 in mid lane, taking the reset then, and then you're just forcing S5 down mid lane. You don't really care about anything else. Like, you can just say, the Scion is sitting in front of us, come at us.
Yeah, so there was a chance for them to just end it. But sadly, they didn't. They went for this pick on bust, and we were all just sitting in the call going, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Nick, why are they doing this? And what happens next?
It's a bit weird. I can't really say why they tried it, but Buzz got away, and you just have to question, like, was it really worth it? You could have just pushed out and look at how split the team fight is once again, just like at the Baron pit, and then Buzz simply walks to the fountain, teleports in, and just look at the angle that he will get.
You can see him, the four flying across the screen right there. The Jaws music cueing.
Bye bye, Muffin. That's what BB stands for.
Yeah,
just
he
taken
just drops a
out
bomb on
like
his head.
that. Yeah, and like Sin didn't really know where to go to at that point. Like, was really in a bad position, and he just got smoked as well. And the entire team just dies here. And what RIZE should have done, Venomcrest does here. They just rush the enemy base immediately. They say, okay, that's a win for us. And they just took it. Mm-hmm. They were decisive where RIZE Gaming wasn't. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this.
My last question on this game is, Harold, when we see that clip rolling out, the bus play fails, right? You know, a bit of a waste of time, right? He's 1 Q away from dead. He almost dies, right? Like, if he dies, then maybe they just go back to pushing, who knows? There was some sort of plan, even if we don't necessarily agree it was the best idea. But the fight seems to continue with Aniki kind of getting the bloodlust, like he's Briar or something, heads into mid lane and forces this play. So, as great as a game as this was for Aniki, like I say, for 36 minutes, for almost all of RIZE, but Aniki particularly, I'm wondering if this split call potentially comes from Aniki going one way, Trizzy and BB going the other way, and at that point when the bust kill fails, is there any reason to stick around and continue forcing? Is that the point to now press the reset key and just press recall if you've kind of run out of juice in the play?
I think at that point you basically just have to say, we need to fight with our front line. We might not agree with this call, but we have to go for it. Like, there's he is the reason we are having enough time to take these fights, basically. So at that point, you're just giving, like, you kind of, like, when it comes to late game, 37 minutes, throw your hands up and just go with the guy that's first going in. Sometimes it just has to be that little bit non-verbal communication, but there needs to be a better... Well, there needs to be less shaky hands, I feel like, on the side of RIZE. Because at that point, they were probably like, oh, we're about to beat Venomcrest, and then... snapped away.
Yeah, and with a team comp that can spend... At that point, you've got all the time in the world, man. You've got Scion, Smolder, Kindred. You scale to infinity, and have already got the soul. You've got everything you need. And the one time where they rushed it, unfortunately, cost them the whole dang game. But... lads, it did not cost them the series. They are down 1-0. Sadly, they have not been able to turn that advantage into a win. They've lost the Trizzy Kindred without getting a win on it. Bust, Gragas did in fact get the W, but at least cannot be picked again. So if we look forward to game number 2, we'll wait and get the side selection for RIZE in a moment. But in terms of power picks now, Nick, we've lost the Gragas. We still have the Azir for Air, which can retain on the bans. We still have Neferi and Varus, things like this. So if you're RIZE, what are we now thinking as the strategy to go forward right here? Assuming they don't give him Xin Zhao, because why would they? You know, like, why? What do we do now that we've had this option? Do we stick with the same strategy with different pieces? Are there any pieces that can even operate a strategy to the same effectiveness as game 1?
I think there definitely is, and I think RIZE should be sticking with the same strategy. They just need to be more decisive in the upcoming late game, right? If they get there again, like, you could pick. It might be a bit of a wild card, but I think so is any. You could look at Veigar, also like an infinite scaling mage with a big CC circle, right? I think they will keep the same bans as they did in game number 1. I think they will also pick red. I have no idea if they will, but I feel like it was exactly what they wanted, but they will be going for the blue side. So priority, where does that lie? That's the biggest question, right?
Yeah, so we're still banning Azir, because, like I say, I assume we're still banning Xin Zhao, we're banning the Gwen away from Trizzy. So, Harold, if we're looking for a good first pick for RIZE, assuming we don't get the Xin Zhao for Trizzy, who are we betting on here to take the blind?
Well, I do think it is time to live up to their namesake and pick the blue mage in the mid lane.
Ah, it's time to slam it.
So I do think it's a good takeaway from Air. You should probably take away the Yone here if you are planning on picking the RIZE. because you do want to guarantee your Ryze having some strong laning phase, and Air not give Air the possibility of just free scaling into it. He could look towards the Kayle, but Kayle has a pretty horrible time into early game Ryze. So
yeah, I saw in the only Kayle I've seen so far is on that clip compilation that Loopy posted to Twitter, I think. He sort of dropped some Kayle gameplay, and I was like, oh, he's got a Kayle in the back pocket. Hope maybe in the lower bracket we'll see a Kayle Loopy come out. Can't wait for that. So,
no, sorry, Loopy's still stuck on tanks.
Sorry, Loopy, no dice. You heard it here first. Clip it, and if we see it with anything other than a tank, we'll know he's a liar. Okay. So the last two bans have been Varus and Jinx, so a bit of bot lane focus. The Jinx is interesting there, to be honest, taking that away from Sin, but I guess potentially we know Sin is a good scaler. So let's see what the first pick's going to be. It's not a scaler. It's a Lucian. Now, Nick, we've got a Lucian here, assuming that, I mean, if we take away the Nami, is this actually that sick of a takeaway? Because I feel like we've seen Intquick do, like, Lucian Lulu and stuff. They've done other enchantments with this pick.
I think, like, Lucian is at the point where he works with a lot of supports, especially enchanters, of course, but specifically, if you take away the Nami, then that just opens up RIZE to pick Braum. And Braum, together with, of course, the Lucian double auto attack stat, makes it so that you can really fast get a stun on board and then have your mid laner as the second carry damage dealer. Or actually the jungler, of course. Just swipe everybody. And they do go with a Kai'Sa instead. So I like the decision because you kind of, like the, what's it called? If you see a Lucian, you kind of want to pair it up with a Nami. And I think they're trying to bait that exactly with the Kai'Sa Nautilus.
Ooh, this is a good Braum angle though now for RIZE.
I was going to say, I think we keep the Braum.
It's still the Braum. It's still the Braum.
Yeah, I think we can drop that one for sure. The Kai'Sa Nautilus, obviously a very classic 2v2. I've seen the Kai'Sa being picked as specifically into the Lucian more than once. But Harold, when I saw this originally, I thought, well, Kai'Sa is quite short range in lane. No, it's not open up to bullying of the Kai'Sa here. But what is the theory, I guess, of taking the Kai'Sa as a Lucian answer in some sense?
Well, it's probably the single target damage where Lucian does can and should survive most 1v2 lanes unless you're going into some like kind of poke setup with a Caitlyn. You're taking away that possibility because of the single amount target damage amount on the Kai'Sa, but as we see here, that is a blind pick Yorick. This is an LPL spectral, honestly.
And he's feeling good after game one. He's feeling real good after the drubbing that he gave to Boston Lane, perhaps in game number one. The blind is bold, I will say, but Nick, if we see a blind Yorick, if we assume the Sejuani comes in for Phrase, which would be a classic pink for him, what do you do when you see blind Yorick? You know, we've got bans to potentially levy as well, but like, what are we expecting for him here?
It's difficult because Yorick is such a strong lane bully, as well as scaling incredibly well into the game, pushing and just taking anyone for one that he wants. So if you really want to take down the Yorick, I feel like you should just go for someone like Camille, like has a damage up from burst to take down a Yorick, has the shield to block most of the damage, and of course, if it's really necessary, can just, you know, swoop away from a fight if she gets ganked. And
just opt out. Yeah.
Exactly. But I do think that because they are picking Sejuani here, they are saying like, okay, let's just let Aniki do their thing. Maybe we'll just pick a Cassante because, you know, Russ is really good on a Cassante as well. And even though he won't be matching Yorick, he will still be relevant in the fight. I was going to say, with the Sejuani pick there as well, they will make sure that Yone gets banned at the same time. So that's at least one ban forced for Venom Crest. So I wonder what they're cooking. And I in my mind, I'm hearing an Orianna, but don't know about that one.
Yeah, I mean, when Kai'Sa Nautilus Sejuani says to me, very standard front to back 5v5 kind of stab. Well, I say standard. We've gone for the Aurelia, so forget that. Harold, what are we doing with this pick?
Historic counter into the Yorick because you can one-shot his ghouls with Aurelia Q.
True.
Yeah. So you can insta-stack the passive and just run at him. The other one pick I would have wanted to see personally was Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser slams the Yorick in lane. Because you press ult and all of his stuff is gone.
Yeah.
But, so we're putting up another cage.
Yeah, we're just putting walls and rocks and blockages up everywhere right now for RIZE. Now, it's not like they're evidently not doing the same thing they did in game 1. They're not playing for a scaling 5v5 where they can kind of play it out slowly if they need to, which worked well for them, but they ultimately couldn't get the win. Now, you've summoned Orianna, but not for Venom Crest. You've summoned it for RIZE. A blind Orianna, I guess, at this point for BB Muffin. So, things like the Ahri were open, and maybe would have expected that for him, but it's not been the choice.
Yeah, it's like, I kind of understand what they want to do, but with all the dashes that is on Venom Crest right now, do you really want to go for the Orianna? I think Taliyah is just a wonderful picker if they really go for it, and it's a Tristana instead. So, heavy push into Orianna.
Okay, Nick, how are we feeling? No, sorry, not Nick. You've already spoken. You get to speak no more. Harold. Harold, how do you feel about this last pick, Tristana? So we've got double AD solo lanes. The Kai'Sa, of course, has a little bit of mixed damage, but and the push as well. Like, as a 5-stack from Venom Crest, how are we feeling about it?
That is a lot of physical damage to lay into a Yorick that will build tabbies, a Jarvan that will build tabbies, a Braum.
A Lucian that will build tabbies, just...
It's very much a case of... You're kind of funneling into this composition that wants to pick off the first target. You have a lot of upfront burst on the side of Venom Crest. On the side of RIZE, as soon as any team fight drags out for more than 15 seconds, you should have the sustained damage and the chase down. Like, the chase down factor on the side of RIZE is the scariest thing. I've seen Yorick's 1v3 late game AD carries just because they can. Yeah. This champion is unfair, and it beckons the question to me that can Venom Crest rely on their late game shot calling enough to deny playmaking to this Yorick?
Didn't Doran's Yorick 1v2 today in LCK?
I think so, but I don't watch LCK because I was busy watching Flandre's Yorick.
LPL partial analyst. Yeah. Okay. So if we're talking crazy playmaking, I'm sure the LPL is just probably the best place to find it. But let's go back to some game predictions here, folks. Now I thought you were a genius there. For picking RIZE in game 1, Harold, but sadly you were more fool, I guess, for not expecting the 36-minute Giga throw. How are you feeling about them in this game? Given the Yorick, given the it's very traditional from Venom Crest, but we've got the Yorick on one side, we've got a Jarvan Orianna, there's the Lucian Braum as well. So do you think you're ready to bet on RIZE again after what they've done to you in game 1?
No, don't trust them anymore.
That's it, you got one chance and you lost it.
No, it's simply because now Venom Crest have given themselves tools in every single lane to dominate the game from zero.
Yeah.
So, and RIZE, the power they look shakier is the early game.
Yep. So it's gonna be a Venom Crest from Harold. Nick, are you ready to swap sides, or are you going to stick with your ingenious Venom Crest pick that totally looked legit for the entirety of game 1 for sure?
I am actually going to swap sides. I think I think the draft that RIZE Gaming picked up here is phenomenal. I think they work very well together. They will go for the chase down, as Harold already said, and just let Yorick do their thing. I think.
Yeah,
I haven't seen Bust Irelia, so I can't really talk about that. But of course, if Bust is at the same prowess on Gragas, then he should be winning. But I think in the end, it is RIZE.
Okay, so once again, we've had a flip-flop from both sides. Let's see how it plays out. Let's send it back to J-Real and Black Bloxer for game number 2.
And here we go into game number 2. I feel like the one thing I'm questioning is, like, how do you bounce back from that, right? If you're RIZE, right? I'm really hoping they've cleared themselves up because if I'm honest, they had that win. They should basically take that as we won game 1. Let's just play with that confidence. Bloxer, no more Fnatic references, okay? No more Fnatic brush from you.
I won't say anything. I promise. That was my bad. I will concede that one. My bad, RIZE. I was really hoping they were going to be able to pick up that game, because them being able to find a victory versus Venom Crest, a team that kind of smacked them around during their regular season matchup, keep themselves potentially in that upper bracket, such an exciting storyline. Unfortunately, Venom Crest, as we kept mentioning, they sometimes can just do that to you, and in terms of compositions that can just do that to you, this one's very exciting.
Yeah, but I will say, like, I know what the devs were saying about, okay, Venom Crest, they have options, they can make plays from the get-go, but I feel like RIZE also can do that. And if I'm honest, RIZE could have looked way more dominant in that last game had they had a bit more early game, right? They had to play for the late game, and they still looked really strong, even at like 15 minutes. So I do feel like there's actually a lot of confidence for them to potentially be like, no, we can play from the early. You just had the opportunity last time. Now it's our time to shine. And I like that if they do pick up the win here, right? They've shown that they can play both styles, and it sets up for a dirty game 3.
Exactly. It'll be so exciting to see later on because it is a complete 180, not only from our analyst desk, but from the teams. What they're looking to play around right here. This composition from RIZE has so much to play for early on, specifically between the jungle and the bot lane. I thought Trizzy had a pretty good performance on that Kindred in game number 1, but the Jarvan, like you've been saying, so much more aggressive during the early game, can gank so effectively early on, really needs to as well to accelerate the pace of the game, but that's not to say that Sejuani can't match early on either. And you also have a couple of layers to play around. Bot lane again, but also top lane. It's such a counter right here. It's not as bad as it was. The Yorick changes have made this a playable matchup, but it's still not great.
But I'm not gonna lie, you know, we've all faced a fed Yorick. When the spade starts to clap, you know, it's a sentiment where it could just be the doomsday. It could be the rites of passage, and I feel like there is still stuff to watch out for. It makes me ask the question, who do we see the junglers play for, right? FaZe obviously has so much potential ganking the Aurelia, but I feel like the Jarvan could also get it done.
I think the top lane could definitely be an explosive matchup. I think bot lane too. Mid is, I think, the only place where you're really going to be looking to just sort of concede, specifically for RIZE, right? That's why you pick yourself the Orianna. It's good in team fights, it works well with the Jarvan, yeah, all of those reasons, but also it just absorbs pressure in that matchup and you can just chill out. FaZe hears us, wants to head towards the top side of the map, and Anarchy is a little bit pushed up right here.
Yeah, level 4 to level 3, but with the jungler, does change a lot here. The stuns should be landing pretty easily as Nikki with a nice flash does avoid the flawless duet from the Aurelia as Air. Now going to be visited by Trizzy. Does just have rocket jump though, so should be able to walk away from this one, but the pressure will be relieved of the pushing from that mid lane.
He really wanted to step back for that last minion. He really didn't want to walk away from that last minion. Now we had FaZe in the area as well. So he's chilling out with that one. TP coming in from BB Muffin, but it doesn't really result in anything. And actually, FaZe, just gonna go press the repeat button, and why not? You're very push forward as Anarchy. No flash on this Yorick now. No flash.
And now here comes the damage. The wall will go up, but the stun comes through. Flash forward from FaZe. It is going to be joined by Trizzy. Bust is very low, but will he be able to even get close enough to Sejuani? Just playing bouncer and will force Trizzy to back away here. I don't think you're going to get any closer to Bust, and really nice play from FaZe.
Exactly what we were looking for from FaZe in this early game. We'll have a look back at this one. It is a decent use of the cage to at least get the flash right here out of FaZe, force him to come join up with this play, but at the point at which you've got yourself a 4-stack Aurelia hitting on top of you, there's nothing you can do. And then at this point, you do a surprising amount of damage as a Sejuani early on. Jarvan really can't just step to you in this situation, and Bust at any moment still has the flash available, could just go rejoin into that fight. It makes perfect sense that Trizzy had to step back away from this one, but now that Anarchy's given up that initial kill, this matchup that's already iffy just gets worse and worse.
It's a tough time. You know, Aurelia's already got pretty much their full build with the with a little bit of lifesteal, and Nikki is going to have a tough time here. Bust just doing so much damage. The chase down, the flash forward doesn't get it though. The combo slightly off.
Not quite. And this is what I wanted to mention. I hear you, Desk. I do, about LPL Yorick, you know? If you're tuning into some LPL Yorick games, boy is it sexy. Bin's Yorick, beautiful. Arla's Yorick, gorgeous. The majority of Yoricks in the LPL, though, suck. I mean, it's rough out here, as Yorick enjoys. There's a 50% win rate, but most of that 50% win rate on Yorick in the LPL is on the 2 people I just mentioned. Everybody else has not been having a good time, and there's a reason for that. The champion is really hard to actually get to a stage where you can just maul through people. You have to have a little bit of support from your team, enough damage to be able to push forwards onto the towers, and a matchup where you can actually start hitting onto plates. If you lose out on plates, if you never really see your enemy's tower before 14 minutes, that is just the window almost gone from the Yorick right at the start of the game.
And I feel like maiden control, you know, is also going to be super important, right? Like, I feel like without that, there isn't so much the champion does, and I feel like it takes a little bit of learning. Maybe I'm just, you know, a bit ooga booga brain about top lane, but I feel like I'm hearing what you're saying. You know, a lot of the people just can't pilot it the way that they need to. But Nicky, you know, he threw down the gauntlet. He picked it early, so I'm expecting a lot, as we're going to see a little bit more trading the top side. FaZe was up there, but won't be able to get anything done. And early Dragon this time did go to RIZE. We didn't really talk about it, but it is an important factor that could definitely change the game. They want early aggression, and in that top side, we're going to see it once again, but it does not go RIZE's way.
No, this is getting rougher and rougher out here. The thing about the Yorick is that it keeps you honest the whole game. At any point, if you mess up and you don't think about your waves and you let the Yorick start hitting towers, you can lose 2-3 of them the whole game incredibly quickly. But right now, VNC are very much keeping Anarchy in their thoughts, making it so he's not going to get ahead, and putting the Aurelia into a great spot in this game. And the question now arises to me, what does Bust do going forwards in this game? Because Aurelia also is a menace on the sideline, loves a split push as well, and when you're this far ahead into something like the Lucian and the Orianna, these are champions you can get on top of relatively easily. Does Bust want to teamfight, or does he just want to stay away?
It is an interesting one. I feel like you just match the Yorick. That's how I'm imagining it. Like, you probably just match the Yorick. If you can 1v1, like they're setting up with FaZe, then you can just split push as effectively, right, until you can't. And I feel like in terms of the team fight, the 4v4, it looks pretty good for VNC, right? Obviously, it does rely on who gets the first punch. I think if you get a big shockwave, then yeah, RIZE have this in the bag, but there's a lot of potential from Chrisberg and Air just to move so much around the fight that it makes it difficult.
Yeah, if you're really trying to get involved in these fights, fully straight up 5v5, it's not necessarily going to go the best. Now, as much as we've been focusing on the top side of the map as somewhere that's going very well for VNC, the bot side of the map, anytime you've got yourself a Lucian Braum, you want to get them ahead as much as possible. So far, though, really hasn't been anything going. Both mid and bot lane have been incredibly even so far, and right now, Trizzy's spending a heck of a lot of time down in the bottom lane, trying to potentially get a gank off.
Oh, Proper Panda setting up BB Muffin. It's a nice shockwave, but it does not result how you want it. Proper Panda picking up the kill is the only slither of hope you have in that play. The Air gonna get some time on this tower.
Yeah, and the play did finally work out in the bottom side. Trizzy wasn't wasting his time down there, was able to pick up that kill. So it's at least a 1-for-1 across the map, but you can see what this results in, right? The Tristana mauls through plates in the mid lane. You pick yourself up 3 of these grubs in the top side as well. It's really not going to be a worthwhile play overall for RIZE. We'll have a look back at this one in the mid lane, and it's just a nice hook, you know? At the point at which that hook lands, even with that 3-man shockwave, there's nothing you can do about that one. You're not going to be able to pick that one up. You can see on the minimap during that, Kresenberg also goes down midway through. So we jump back out of that replay. We've got ourselves a minute until the Drake is going to be spawning. As you said, that first one was picked up by RIZE, and so if they want to keep that Drake stacking going, they're going to need to bring a couple extra resources down towards the bottom side.
Yeah, not to bring doom and gloom to the game, but it is a 2k gold lead already over to VNC. So that early game, it needs to start to pick up a little bit. Now, I will say, I don't feel like the champions are as early game centric as maybe it could have been laid out, right? I feel like Lucian, very much coded for the early game, so is Jarvan, but obviously Yorick, Orianna will scale nicely, and I think Lucian doesn't fall off as badly as they used to, especially given how many squishy members there are on VNC.
And alongside the Braum, it just gives you that extra level of survivability. Yes, you've then got that extra aggression during the laning phase, but having that shield available to you will just do a lot, especially into a couple of long-range AD champions that you've got between Air and Kresenberg. It's just overall a nice combo to try to play around. Right now, Trizzy very much sat on a ward at the moment, and he spent so long during this game, sat around this bottom side trying to make things work. Got that gank off earlier to pick up the kill onto the Kai'Sa, is now going to be able to turn this one around into the immediate Drake pickup for RIZE. So he's not wasting time, but it is just resulting in a little bit of a CS lead opening up for RIZE.
I was going to say, it would be a waste if they didn't get that dragon. A beautiful knock up there. The depth charge from Robert Van, and getting 3 members locked in. Cataclysm went down, but Chrisberg is able to jump straight out of that, go aggressive, and gets the kill on Trizzy, but the turnaround is big. RIZE now picking up 2 kills. That's going to be 3. They're looking for the Braum stun, like you said, sets them up, and RIZE clean house.
There we go, that's the fight that you would have been looking for RIZE. Sin picking up a triple kill in that situation, already had that Essence Reaver completed, and just mauls through people in that team fight. It's a brilliant knock-up, as you said, from Proper Panda. It stops the fight from going over to RIZE immediately, but it still very much is favor to them, and it all kicks off with them picking up a Drake as well. And just watch what's happening right here, the way that you're just weaving your way through this one as Sin, just constantly laying down the damage, lands pretty much every single hit of that culling as well. And yeah, is just more than confident enough to step up alongside his Brom.
Oh, on the screen as well. We are getting a big overextension here. Trizzy going to be going aggressive. Is not able to find Bust, but forces them very far away from their lane, and they've rotated Sin up to the top side, so they're trying to get some plates, but they have opened up for Chrisberg to get some time on tower.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a ton of plating going over to this Kai'Sa as well. A bunch was already picked up by the Tristana in the mid lane earlier on. And with the teleport coming through from Bust, you don't even pick up anything there. Air gonna jump forwards.
That's a lot of damage.
He gets
the
him.
TP comes in. The flash, sorry, goes forward, and Air able to get the solo so easily. Sin looking for a bit of damage on the Aurelia, but you've got to be careful here. Phrase is in the vicinity. Yes, Trizzy is there, and maybe I didn't understand the damage the Lucian can do, but Aurelia, you know, you've always got to be cautious.
Yeah, and bot lane is still getting mauled on, even though Anarchy has teleported into that lane. It's now free in the mid lane, and
in a bit of trouble. Gets the knock-up though. Nice block from Nemini, and now the Cataclysm diving back in. It's Phrase in trouble, and Lucian will pick up another kill. The culling comes through, and Bot gets eviscerated. Sin with the precision.
There we go. This is what we need to see out of RIZE. They are coming online. 6-0-1 now for Sin. He is popping off in this game. Him and Trizzy having a good one so far. But of course, Venom Crest, they don't allow you to do anything for free. They're still 2,000 gold ahead. And through the turret placement that they've been able to pick up for themselves, the full mid lane tower falls on the backside of that fight.
It's still not in their hands though. 6-0-1 for Sin, but it's still a 1.5k gold lead over to Venom Crest. They have some strong members in this game. You've got to look at Air. We talked about it earlier on in the day. Air is so dangerous on this Tristana. If they get an opening, if they don't get focused in a fight, they could obliterate RIZE's chances.
Exactly. And it's not just them, right? Bust hasn't been looking to enjoy any of these team fights, but you can, and you can chase a Lucian around on this champion as well. Is Bust gonna just go for this one? If Bust picks up this tower, he should die for it, yeah. You have to walk away here. Bust, gotta recognize that he's not in the situation to be able to try fully pick up that tower, has to walk away. There was nothing on the way down too. Instead, we'll go back to a slightly more standard form of laning, chill out a little bit before we have our next couple of objectives come through, because we've got ourselves a Herald spawning soon. Oh, hang on. Oh no.
It's a knock-up. It's tough out here for the Yorick, you know. Sion,
Bro,
great game for them. This time, falling a bit behind, needs some time, needs to get some items. Give them 2 items, and maybe we see the Yorick start to dig people up from the graves he puts them in. But at the moment, that's not happening. Chrisberg also starting to get a bit fancy with their feet. The shockwave lands, though, and the pickup is there for BB Muffin.
If you manage to dodge away, maybe it's alright. Now teleport's going to come through. Trizzy getting jumped at this point, stunned up as well with that flawless duet. Going to be taken down, but you've now got multiple strong members down in the bottom side of the map right here for Venom Crest. They're very much going to be looking towards this Drake. Don't want to be giving soul point over to RIZE already. They're going to pay for this aggression in the bottom lane though by losing out onto their top lane tower.
So they might be able to get something back. Nemini is caught out here. A lot expended. Like TP, Sejuani ultimate. Like I feel like Venom Crest are clutching in a way when they don't need to. They're not behind.
Yeah, they are playing like they need to find a way back into this game, claw back from the jaws of defeat like they did in game number 1. But they're chilling. They're in a great spot right here. First item's coming through, second item as well. Christenberg, so he's in a very strong spot. Bot lane tower falls, mid lane priority is being picked up at the moment. Venom Crest currently going through all of the correct steps to get themselves some priority around this Drake pit. It's not going to stop RIZE from stepping up though. They still very much want to pick this one up for themselves.
It's the 3rd dragon that has spawned. This would be soul point, as you said, for RIZE. They are starting to group around it. They've even brought the Yorick down. I don't know if the Yorick gives much in the team fight though versus the Aurelia. I do wonder if they should actually try and split them up. Shockwave going to be using the bot lane. Air taken to half HP. Trizzy moving down, needs to be careful, does avoid the hook, doesn't get caught out, still able to move down as the fight does happen in the river. Air now being closed down, slowed by the Jarvan. There's the Cataclysm, the damage comes through, does not need the flag and drag, and the kill will be secured. Dragon, now their focus. Ryze, really nice pickup, really nice rotation, and can now take the objective.
It's well played from RIZE, but I'm really questioning the decision-making right there from VNC. Felt incredibly split. Half of them say, yeah, we go in, we go find the picks. Half of them saying, now we actually need to pull away from this one, and it just leaves Air out to dry right there. Gets caught out, and they're going to now lose the soul point over to RIZE. The response is an attempt onto the mid lane tower, but you do a decent amount of damage. Plenty of wave play available to Nemedy.
Ooh, Nemedy is going pretty low, as you said. Propaganda is one tick away from being locked down, taking so much damage from the culling. That was the whole ultimate to their face, and that's the last bit of damage. And now they're just able to start walking forward. BB Muffin with the confidence of the team on his back. The Herald is right there once they chase away Phrase, and that's going to be another objective. And I really like this. Again, they're still slightly behind in the gold, but if you look at how they're playing, RIZE feel so far ahead.
Really do. They're just playing with so much confidence. VNC, they're so split at the moment now. Re-engages potentially between Bust and Phrase, but you don't win this one. You are in a 2v4 situation at the moment. Bust gonna attempt to teleport out Phrase, just dead right here, and that's losing more and more. VNC, uncharacteristic macro mistakes right here.
Yeah, and RIZE, they're ramping up this damage. We said they have to play good in the early. It looked a bit shaky, Blocks, all right? I'm not going to lie. The first 5 minutes, I was a bit like, man, are we just going to get a 2-0? But they're coming into this. Sin is strong. The Orianna is getting there. BB Muffin is definitely making their mark. Trizzy able to set up some of these plays. And I won't, maybe I'm too early to say it, but Nikki is starting to become a little bit of a problem.
He's finally got that first item completed. Trinity Force in the back pocket. It's slow, right? You really would have wanted that one completed 5 minutes ago, but the point at which you have it means you can now kind of go toe-to-toe with some of these other champions, and anytime you get even the nearest sniff of a tower, you are going to be able to do a ton of damage to that one as well. Interesting to see what the remaining build is going to be, because we've seen quite a big divergence in different builds out of Yorick. Propaganda getting jumped, actually Cataclysms too.
Yeah, that should be a dead Nautilus. Tanky, but it doesn't matter, although the minions trying to play for the side of VNC. They're blocking the culling, but it won't make a difference. They will pick up that kill, and RIZE now able to put a bit of pressure onto this mid tower as well. I will say, we have to still think about VNC. They are going to scale nicely. They are still going to be quite dangerous, and we haven't seen them fight together yet. Every time we've seen them fight, they have been split, like you said, and it will make a big difference when they actually decide to play on the same page.
Very much so, but I'm worried again, like we saw in the previous game, that RIZE aren't going to give them the opportunities to fight as a straight-up 5v5. Throughout the majority of that previous matchup, VNC were in split situations, smaller skirmishes, rather than big team fights. And it made it so much harder for them to try to play out their composition. If the same thing happens again, the outcome could be similar, although, of course, in the end, VNC will be happy with that one. Anarchy, his bad day may well get worse.
Oh, it's just, what can you do, man? You get jumped over the wall. Immediately, Sejuani just throws the Glacial Prison in your face, and Air has quite a lot of damage, right? This tower will fall as well. We talk about tower destruction. Air is probably playing one of the best champions for it, but the team are here to come to collect their bounty. Yes, you might get the tier 2 tower. Yes, you might get a bit of gold, but you're giving it back to Sin.
Yeah, gonna give another kill over to Sin. 9-0-2 at this point, and it worries me slightly to point this out considering what happened last time, but gonna have to. Once again, unkilled right here in a very strong position. 2 items completed, well on the way to that 3rd as well. And Sin, he's definitely in a spot to be able to carry right here. You can see, just spent all of his gold once again. He's up 2,000 gold over Krisenberg. Krisenberg didn't have a bad time during the early laning phase either. But what can he do to actually carry?
Air is also 2,000 gold up on BB Muffin. However, what I will say is the Orianna, I feel like it's always relevant. Regardless of just raw damage, the Shockwave will always be a prominent feature in these fights. Whereas I feel like Krisenberg needs those items. You know, your Kai'Sa, you need to do some damage, and you will need some items for that. The culling takes him to half HP. A bit of time on this tower will be able to get a couple of ticks of damage. as they are now going to have to back away. Fraze, though, stepping a little bit too far forward, gets stunned. There's the damage going in. All of it just going straight on the Tipuani, but here comes Bust. You have to be careful of this Irelia, and over there on the side, Air jumps in. Sin having to back away, and it's what we talked about. If Air is unfocused, can wreak havoc in these games.
I love that from Bust. Manages to get that flawless duet underneath the tower, stuns everybody up, and yes, you do lose out onto your jungler, but you turn it straight back around, and you're not going to have the threat of the Atakan being taken out. 20 seconds now until this Drake is going to spawn, and can you imagine what Sin can do with a Cloud Soul in his back pocket? You really want to stop this one from happening right here as Venom Crest, but with the Atakan available on the top side of the map as well, there's just a lot of places you need to have map control, a lot of lanes you need to be focusing on at the moment.
And we're starting to see those sneak glimpses of this Yorick again, pushing that tower, getting that tier 2 low in the bot side. It's a sentiment of you have to start thinking about it. The longer the game goes, the more dangerous that Yorick becomes, and there could become a point where Bust isn't able to fight him. He's a level down already, and look at the armor build as well from the Yorick. It is starting to stack.
Yeah, it is going to be the slightly tankier version of the Yorick. It was going to be an interesting look to see if he felt he was in a position to be able to pick himself up a Hull Breaker second. I'd have been surprised with that one. Really hasn't had as much alone time with towers as a Yorick would otherwise like. Interesting that Bust has gone towards that Hull Breaker, so if at any point you lose track of where
Trizzy could be in trouble here, though. Going to have to pop out of this one, not into the floors to it, and able to get a beautiful flag and drag away. No one will hold him down, but the tower does remain.
It's so low. Won't even be able to get off one tower shot if somebody so much as breathes in its direction.
Ooh, talk about breathing in direction, and Nikki has found multiple members, and Sin starting to move forward again. Look at Bust, look at Air. They're going to go in. Air is not in the fight yet, but Bust is on the back line, and they're looking to kill Sin. They've taken down Sin. The big raid boss has fallen, but Rise are still strong. They're still forcing away Venom Crest, and they still could look for this dragon because they have forced Fraze to go back to base.
Perfectly worthwhile trade though for Bust. His life for the shutdown right here onto the 9-0-4 at the time. Lucian, more than enough for them, and it should slow things down just a little bit. Both juggles do remain. Air.
Trizzy going aggressive here. Doesn't have the damage though. Air is doing so much work, man. One combo and you're almost dead, and Proper Panda is now going to be the choice. They will pick that one up. No Air in the vicinity means that they are going down, and the damage from Anarchy was crazy onto that Kai'Sa. The TP though coming in, that's going to be the Irelia joining back, and Fraser's tanky will take some time to take out, and Rise need to start moving away because Bust is looking dangerous. Flawless duet lands, knock up from Trizzy. They're moving in, but Air is on the side, untouched, gets a kill, looking for more, resets are there, and the Tristana is dangerous, but Sin has joined back into the fight, forces Venom Crest to respect and back away. No dragons taken, a lot of fighting happened.
Yeah, a lot of fighting, a lot of kills, couple huge ones going over. Bust specifically want to pick up a ton of these really important ones. Air, just about going to be able to keep that mid lane tower alive as well. That's going to be pretty important for Venom Crest, and they're going to start this Drake up. They really need to pick this one up. Can't afford to give Soul over to Rise. They don't want to have to play around a big Elder Drake this early on into the game as well. And they do enough, just about. I was slightly worried when Proper Panda landed that hook that resulted in his death, that it was just going to be the Drake picked up immediately for Rise. In Venom Crest instead, they're able to just about hang on.
Frozen Heart on the Yorick, I like it a lot, especially considering how much damage we're talking about from Air. And I've got to say, it was the feature matchup. I'm now talking about it a lot, but Air is getting so many opportunities in these fights where he's just not being focused, and Rise have to tune into that. They need to lock down this Tristana because they are the danger man in the fight, and they do just that. Immediately kill Air, and now they have some openings.
Yeah, now they can try to continue pushing forwards onto this mid lane. The teleport in from Anarchy means that this mid lane tier 2 tower will take a ton of damage, although actually the response from Venom Crest more than enough at this point. Just stop this play from happening mid lane. But now they can turn around and go and look on towards this Atakan. I love the pings right here out of Venom Crest. Oh, Baron even.
To get Atakan, Baron is up blocked, so they do not care, but they have to be careful. FaZe is there. The steal is on. Chrisberg is firing off these shots, and Bust is dangerous, but they're going to get the lockdown onto Bust. Flashes away to stay alive, but look in the middle of the fight. Trizzy's going low, goes down. Proper Panda falling, but it's Jungler for support. No Baron further action. Chrisberg over the wall, stays alive. FaZe enough distance to get away, and once again, Venomcrest able just to keep the play on their side, and Bust is now even going for a tier 2.
Hullbreaker Aurelia means that this one just immediately goes down, and you could turn around and just walk this one off as Bust, I think. He's unlikely to get caught, can use this minion wave bottom lane to get himself a little bit of extra movement too. He's being hunted. Nah, he's fine. Chilling from Bust. I really like that decision making, and that was what I was talking about with the pings down mid lane. I very much like the Venomcrest weren't immediately bombing it up towards that objective, and instead sent someone mid lane, because even if you do lose out onto the Baron, you've still then got a wave pushing away from you, so you're not worried about having your towers taken down, and maybe you can turn it into a tower as your own, as we saw there.
It's just strong. It's what we expect from Venomcrest, right? Good macro play. Any decision that they can make can lead to a punish, and they're using it really, really well. FaZe just getting a little bit of an insight there, spotting out RIZE in their jungle. Sin stacking up 10 and 1, still very dangerous with Venomcrest. They've shown that they have answers. They are able to start to put some pressure onto this Lucian. It's an ADC at the end of the day, very, very squishy, as we are going to see the Atakan started up by Venomcrest
in this one, and the response is going to be way too slow out of any members of RIZE. They're on a wild goose chase against air at the moment. The question is, can the rest of Venomcrest get away, or is a collapse going to come through from RIZE?
I feel like RIZE are going really deep onto this play. Like they said, we are going to fight right now. There is no deciding moment of this. We will be taking this fight. They killed one already. They're looking for more. Bust is isolated. Chrisberg able to get locked in, but holds on air. Now jumping forward, gets one in the flip side of the fight. They've already taken down the Lucian. They're looking for the play. Bust says, I am a strong Aurelia. I will slice through the team, and forces RIZE to run. 3 members alive. 3 members alive for Venomcrest, but Venomcrest are infinitely much more dangerous.
Yeah, they're going to be able to turn straight onto this Baron, melt this one down, even though it's only 3 members available. Yes, you lose your mid lane tier 2 tower for this one, but it's a small price to pay for the Atakan, for the Baron, and all of the kills the Venomcrest have been able to pick up for themselves. This is an incredibly back and forth game. It felt like that fight was on a knife's edge, but Bust, he did all the work for himself during the early stages of the game, laning phase 2-0, now 3 items completed, an absolute menace in the backline.
And it's the risk you run when you have all of your damage on that ADC. And we got to have a little look back at this, because obviously I was focused a lot on the right side of the fight, but talk to me what happened actually on the left side. What happened to Sin?
Unfortunately for Sin, he's about to just get insta-jumped by Bust. Bust comes over the wall. Yeah.
Oh my god. The damage is so ridiculous.
Bust does... When I said menace in the backline, I was not kidding. He does so much damage. And the thing is, that fight gets kicked off right at the very start by a brilliant ulti, by just Vanguard's Edge across 3 members that just shuts down that initial bit of damage that you're trying to lay down from RIZE. And then the second that Sin shows his face, Bust is like, yeah, mine. Insta-kills him, and then that's the majority of your team damage gone. As we've been saying, it's a lot more carries for Venomcrest, more spread out in terms of who can play. You very much need to protect the solution if you are RIZE.
The Cataclysm is down, the knock-up coming through from the Sedge, the TP coming in, FaZe making a move forward, Bust looking for the backline, gets the kill on the Sin, Air is able to take it down, and Air has been a menace for RIZE all day long, and now the rest of the team move forward. Venomcrest with the kill, they've got the Baron, this could be the end of the game and the series, Bloxer.
Oh, it's so unfortunate right here. It's been such a fun series to watch so far, but unless there's some miracles from Anarchy Anemone, this one should be over. You can see how quickly these towers, these inhibitors are going to fall. Or break it up, Aurelia are going to be able to melt through. They go in, start the fight.
They're looking for the fight, they're looking to defend, but Bust is too strong. They move forward, Air on the tower, destroys that one, looks for more, and they don't need anything else. Bloxer, Venomcrest will come through 2-0 and take themselves further forward in the upper bracket.
Oh boy. That was an intense series, incredibly back and forth. As RIZE, you're going to be pretty upset about losing out onto that one. You should have won game number 1.
Yep.
You were in a spot to win game number 2. What did we say? 9-0-4 Lucian? And I felt like I jinxed him again because this is a second game in a row where a very fed, unkilled Sin just isn't able to turn it around into a carry. It's so unfortunate here for RIZE. It feels like they are 96% of the way there in the majority of these games. They just don't know how to close it out or convert their early leads into late game success.
And I think, like, obviously the deaths will break it down a lot more than this. I just feel like there's a lot of potential. Like, they get themselves so far the way there, as you're saying, and then it's just those late game decisions, those late game team fights. It's just a little bit questionable. You know, a couple of things could change here and there, and they could potentially become the team that wins the whole tournament. Who knows? But they're gonna have to go back to the drawing board. VNC are gonna move straight forward. RIZE, they're gonna go to the lower bracket. They're still in the tournament, but they're just gonna have a few more steps to get to that finals. But that has been all from us, me and Bloxer. We've had that cast. It was clean, it was fun. Sadly didn't go to 3, but the desk can break down the second game that we saw.
Well, just wasn't to be today, everybody. It was not to be for RIZE. This will always be maybe the biggest what if. Probably, I'd call it now, probably the biggest what if of playoffs, to be honest. Like, 2 games where RIZE were in such good positions, where we had so many good reasons to favor VNC today. They felt like the more complete team, the more experienced team, and it would have been an upset for RIZE today. But they made us believe, for 99% of today's series, I believe that RIZE would win. And yet, they have not. Harold, this one was a very different game, different composition, different timeline, but ultimately it still ends up with RIZE not being able to capitalize. So why do you think this game fell apart for RIZE? I guess, do you think it's the same problem, just dressed up in a different composition, or do you think it was something else that caused them to fail in game 2?
I do think it stems from the same root. It's still the issue of you're in a new situation against an opponent that has looked dominant for so long. You're still having a bit of a shaky hand, and then like we saw it at the Baron turn, like they were turning and not turning and trying to keep it leashed, but also chasing after bust. Go for one play, one at a time, together. Like, it worked so well for them this game. It worked so well for them last game. It worked so well for them in regular season. Yeah. This is not new material. But like, we see the first this game had promise, man.
It did. The whole series did, right? It showed so much. It had so much potential, and yet unrealized. Let's take a look at the first replay, and Nick, you can talk us through this. So this is where we first pricked our ears up and thought, hang on, RIZE is cooking here. Yeah,
like the way they just made sure that VNC could not get into one group and fight this in a 3v4. Like, Air is just way too late into this fight. These bodies were already dropping, and together with the Lucian Brown early strength, they just swept everyone away, used the CC to make sure that everyone gets stunned, locked up, and Sin just gets a triple kill here and eventually just grows that into a 9-0 lead.
Yeah, the 9-0-4 point that Bloxer mentioned, that Sin, they turned that bot scrap into a top dive that was amazing, and Sin got 2 more kills, and it really felt like it was off to the races. They could play through him. They were chasing down. Harold, you were telling us about the chase down that this comp has, and how effective we saw it was at being able to just keep Venomcrest from ever getting to get away with anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, the composition basically works. You absorb the engage, and then you go again. You have the Brom, you have the Yorick, you have the Lucian, you have all of these tools to make the chase so strong, and to make the possibility of a re-engage so painful on the side of Venomcrest. And yet, every time where you're like this close to making it work, you're on the cusp of making the tempo-defining play that you can then convert into major objectives or major structures being taken down. You just, and you just. I'm not gonna lie. I was very much like this at some point.
Yeah, just couldn't take it. Had to relax, had to recline and relax watching that one, because it was a bit of a frustrating watch. None more so than I imagine for RIZE, of course, who will be kicking themselves after this game. They know they were right there for it, but this does at least tell us that RIZE has 99% of an amazing game of League that can beat almost, potentially one of, if not our top one or top two teams in the region, which is Venom Crest, right? So there is potential there. We know there's always potential. We've seen it almost make it, and now they have a lower bracket run to perhaps refine that a little bit more and perhaps come back stronger to see if they can get some revenge later on. So we'll see if they can. I believe we have one more replay of the last fight. I'm not sure if we have it ready quite yet. We'll cue it in when it comes to. We do actually have it ready. So let's cue this second replay in. And Harold, you can talk us through this one, which is this top side kind of play off the Atakan.
Yeah, I mean, here, like, the Atakan gets taken, so the Venom Crest have to retreat to their tier 2 tower. You have the angle of possibility to engage, but look at the positioning of the RIZE's carries. They are fully exposed to the raw amount of crowd control that was available on the side of Venom Crest. Yes, you're getting the picks. Yes, you're splitting up the fight. Chrisberg is on 1 HP, but it doesn't matter. Your Lucian is dead. Your Orianna is dead. Aniki is trying his hardest, but it's not enough. Bust and Air are alive. FaZe is there, ready to soak up the damage, ready to set up the kills with that, with that Winter's Bite. Not Winter's Bite. Winter's Bite is Nemini. I forgot Sejuani Z.
I think it's just called Frostbite, no?
Might be.
Anyway, but yeah, the stacking stun that she can stack up. So, but yeah, and again, it's a fight that's once again on these two fronts, right? Because you've got Sin, who is exposed and getting dived on, and Trizzy and Orianna, Trizzy and Muffin are trying to kill Chrisberg, who has been completely silent and more or less invisible the entire game. We did not really see him hide nor hair of the Kai'Sa. We didn't need to. It didn't ultimately end up factoring in that much, but it was enough to distract the Jarvan Orianna for just long enough that Bust and FaZe get into the backline and deal with Sin. So
yeah,
it's
also like
a bit of a nightmare.
It's also a bit of criticism that we've had regarding Sin. Like, even if you get a 9-0 lead, incredibly well done. But if you're positioning, if you dash into a Sejuani, then you might as well be a 0-0 champion. Like, you can't deal damage when you're dead, basically.
Yeah. Now, I think we do have a replay, the final replay of the last fight, which does show us. This one, I think, really gave me the most mirrored image to the first game, of where it felt like at that final moment, as you said, Harold, the shaky hands come in. And Nick, if you want to talk us through this last play, this overreaching from RIZE.
Yeah, so RIZE already lost a team member right at this point, and they still go for initiation up against. They see 3 people, but it turns into a 5v4 very quickly, and you can see that RIZE is scrapping to get away, but that's already too late. With the dive comp that Venom Crest has, they can just pick whoever they want, and they just easily won this team fight because of it. The overextension from RIZE Gaming once again, and they straight up ended the game off of this play.
Yeah, that was it. Right, they reached too far, couldn't take it, and ultimately they fall apart at the last hurdle. They weren't massively ahead at that point, but they were not out of the game. Sin was never going to be out of the game at that point, but sadly, yeah, RIZE couldn't quite hold it together until that final moment. So unfortunate for RIZE, they drop down 0-2 into the losers bracket. Now I think we do have an updated bracket to take a look at, just to see where we currently stand and get a look at the potential projected lower bracket, which is interesting. Of course, our upper bracket final, Inkwick versus Venom Crest, Seed 1 versus Seed 2, more or less expected by analysts everywhere, I would imagine. And it will be good to see the run back of that, because that was Venom Crest's one loss, was to Inkwick. Now, while we're just quickly looking at that, Harold, looking forward to that matchup, do you think that what we've seen from Venom Crest today versus what we saw from Inkwick, both of which had pretty tight run 2-0s, do you think the Venom Crest have it in them to right the wrongs of the regular season and take a win there?
Well, they've got a few weeks to work on it, because as we see, it's the 7th of June, so it's 2 weeks to work on the prep, to work on strengthening a little bit of the sloppiness we saw in these 2 games. Inkwick have been looking really sharp. There's no understating the amount of just the quality of the gameplay they've brought into this season. Like, there were a lot of doubters, especially going into the Fearless bracket, still 2-0'd. One of the rising powers of the league, well, not in name, of course, Brother Friends established, but they were looking better and better with each series. Broad were looking like a genuine threat to the top of the table. And Inkwick just dispatched them in the 2-0. Now,
it was
there needs to be, the question that needs to be answered is, are Venom Crest going to come in with a different fire into this into this upper bracket final? Are they going to come in with the mentality of, we still are the kings of this league, you have to dethrone us before you can take the throne?
Yeah. Now, in that lower bracket as well, we did see that. So our next matchups for Monday and Thursday next week will be Belfast Storm versus Gucci and Paragon versus Bandits. So we have potentially Harold's Dark Horse pick when he's not allowed to pick Bandits against Bandits, which is tough. So potentially a tough matchup for the Bandits down there in the bot side. But Gucci versus Belfast Storm as well. I think Gucci on the up and up, and Belfast kind of ended the season on a bit of a down. I think they might meet in the middle somewhere, and we'll see if they cross or if Belfast can kind of ricochet off Gucci and get themselves back in. We'll have to see what that goes. But I think for now, we're going to wrap that up. We don't have an interview, sadly, today, everybody, but we will hopefully get that back in place for later off in the playoffs. But thank you, everybody, for watching, sticking with us, feeling the emotional distress of that RIZE series. And we will hopefully see you back here on Monday at the usual time, usual place here on twitch.tv/theukl. So have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you, Nick V. Thank you, Harold, for desking with me. Thank you for sticking out in that first pre-game as well, going along with me here, talking all the way out through the depth. Always a pleasure. And congratulations. Thank you, J-Real and Bloxer, for another excellent cast. Sadly, another 2-0, but it was a pretty exciting one. So we're happy with that. Thank you, Foxy, on production, as well as Beans and Corvid. And yeah, that's going to be it for the night. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. Have a good night.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go! let's go, let's move side to side,